Hello everybody and welcome to Swim or Sink 99. It's been 99 iterations of Swim or Sink already, but we're not quite ready to go on to 100 yet. We've got a lot of great Splatoon 3 action tonight for you. I'm Anna, joined here by the wonderful Toma. Toma, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great tonight. I'm really excited to see these matches that we got coming up. We're going to be starting off with a very exciting set with Splataclysm versus Ikaryoku, starting off at Clamblitz on Mako Mart. Tell me what you think a bit about this stage.
I'm a huge Mako Mart fan. I cannot get enough of it, couldn't get enough of it in Splatoon 2, and honestly, just I like it. It's good. It's simple enough. It's rather compact, so there's a lot of, like, a little bit more variability in terms of the weapon pools, which, unless you're running, like, top-level meta, is always, it's just nice to see.
I definitely agree. I really like the stacks, all the walls and stuff that it can give a lot of room for interesting weapon choices to come out, kind of play around cover. It's not one of those giant open maps like, Scorch Gorge, where you could just have an E-leader that just dominates the map and there's nothing you could do about it. It gives like kind of a lot of fair balance, and I think it brings out really interesting comps that I've seen, not only in tournaments that I've played before with my own team, but stuff I've commentated before as well. I think you can see really interesting things. I think it was actually on the last SAC, we saw like a tent umbrella coming out on this exact stage, which was really interesting.
I mean, I'm not surprised, given that Clamblitz is one of Tentabella's better modes. Just it provides a lot of utility that you can use to help get in a push. The beacon's also just nice in terms of getting back into the action, which, despite Mako Mart being a rather compact stage, it feels like it can take a bit to get things going again, so beacons help with that. We wait for these two teams to just finish up selecting their compositions, figure out who's going to be playing for each team, as both of them have plenty of members to choose from. Teams going to be selecting the best lineups they can going into this first match of SOS 99.
They sure will be. They're going to be, kind of duking this out. The groups right now, best of 3 games, so you really want to make sure that you try to get those 2 wins out the gate to try to set yourself up for a better position going into brackets. And we're going to be... looks like a little bit of a delay. Room died. We're going to be getting people back in. So hold tight with us for just another minute.
Did you see the art book leaks? Or not even leaks, because I think they were posted by the Japanese Splatoon Twitter account. But did you see any of the art book previews that came out recently?
I do believe I saw some of those on Twitter this morning. I believe I saw specifically one that people were talking about as like the Dapple Stringer.
Yeah, no, I saw. I think I saw that exact one. If it's the one that you're thinking of, where the guy like way back in like 2018 thought it was like a new bow or something, but it was just like a really blurry, or not even blurry, like the shadow of the Dapple Doolies.
Yeah. I do believe that's what we're talking about. Yeah, I saw a lot of that going around Twitter this morning. It looked very interesting. I do believe it was from the Japanese account.
I mean, when is Twitter never interesting, at the very least?
Twitter always has its fair share of either amazing art or lots of drama. Never really any in between.
I do believe it also has a fair amount of Splatoon tournament organizer accounts. I wouldn't be surprised if IPL is one of them. Go check that out. Always love to give IPL a shout out. This is their stream. We'd be remiss not to plug them a little bit, but I mean, hey, you just gotta give IPL props.
Absolutely. Over at IPL Splatoon on Twitter, go drop them a follow, get them some retweets. They just tweeted out the stream link for here tonight for Swimmer Sync 99, so go show that tweet some love.
Yeah, I remember at one point, I saw one of the tournament results. I think it was for some low ink, trending under cricket, and I didn't know why. Apparently, there is an Indian cricket league that also shortens their association name to IPL.
What an interesting coincidence.
And I like, it was just very funny because it's like, not only was Twitter recommending me a tweet from an account I already followed, it's like, I don't follow cricket. Why? What made you decide that I suddenly like cricket?
Don't you know, cricket and Splatoon, they're just one step off of each other. They both have, players. That's a similarity.
Yeah, I mean, everybody thinks that Clan Blitz is more like football or soccer, but I think they're really overlooking the obvious cricket comparisons.
Yeah, that's obvious.
So obviously, I don't even need to explain them, because everybody already knows.
Of course,
so
we're all cricket
We'll not waste
here.
your time. We are still having a few technical delays as far as getting the lobby back up. So, you just get to listen to us vamp for a little bit on this this fine Wednesday evening. I believe it's evening for most of the U.S. The international teams who are happy, who happen to be playing in. First off, thank you for coming out to support. I believe, I'm not actually sure what that flag is. I really needed to pay more attention in geography, but we do have a few teams playing from outside the U.S. Always fun to see. An Australian team, I believe, in PSU blue, assuming that logo or that flag, excuse me, is accurate. So I mean, hey, props for all of you for showing out, getting ready to play. As we finally have everybody back in the lobby, surely they should have their picks for their players and picks for their weapons about ready, and we should be able to hop into Clan Blitz Mako Mart relatively soon.
Yes, we sure hope so. It's going to be a very exciting first round here in Mako Mart, a fan favorite out of everybody. As we said before, I think we're going to see a lot of cool action here coming out. I think this could be one of those games, and where you can see a lot of fast play happening potentially, if they can get early picks and build up that clam economy really fast, you can see some pretty big pushes, as we've seen, saw a 20XX game this past weekend where there was just incredible pressure. Teams came out like immediately and were just able to get the picks and dunk down to like 50 in the first minute of the game. Pretty incredible things can happen here on Mako Mart.
No, especially with how volatile Clan Blitz is as a mode. With all the other modes changing at least slightly. Actually, I say all the other modes. Rainmaker being the only one that actually changed, but it definitely feels like modes like Splat Zones and Tower Control were already rather slow-paced as is. But Clan Blitz is going to have none of that as we get into Game 1. Mako Mart Clan Blitz starting out SOS 99 here. What are we seeing from these two teams, Toma?
Got an interesting sort of comp coming out on both sides. Definitely not necessarily a meta comp from either. We do see a little bit more range on the side of Splataclysm with that Hydra Splatling that's going to be sitting up here beautifully pressuring to go down already in the mid, as both these teams are going to try to search for opening picks. As I like to say, Clan Blitz, kind of plays like team deathmatch at the beginning of the map. Until you can get, 2 down, 3 down on the other enemy side, you've got to be really careful about advancing forward and trying to, get the push going.
A whole bunch of specials come out from Ikaryoku, but we're not actually seeing any space being taken off the back of it, as I believe it was Bunny who just went down, but was able to stall out things long enough for the rest of their team to get back in the mix. Now, with this 1v1 happening between Renzi and Hydra on the side of the map there, Hydra going to win it out, but has to deal with the weapons sharing their name. But man, this Bloblobber in such a forward position is going to be so hard for Splataclysm to deal with, and the barrier falls.
It does, and Hydra was there with those 7 power clams ready to go. You see Mirai also up here in their bunker, just holding this space beautifully. You got the Crab Tank coming out, getting the pick on the Junior, tolling around and getting the roller too. And they're able to keep the basket open just long enough, starting to get more clams there, but with just the machine going back home, trying to save their life, but still keep some of that space by throwing those fizzy bombs. That is going to be the first push coming to end all the way down to 23. That's an incredible push for the first, minute and a half of the game.
And also I'm taking a few riskier positions. Obviously, playing on a team that is not their own, subbing in from Splataclysm Imbeciles, if I remember correctly. but still doing a fairly good job. Wins the 1v1, and suddenly everyone from Splataclysm falls. That's the wipeout. Sam with the power clam, and now Ikaryoku has not only a whole bunch of map control to work with, but they've started to amass some clams. The kills just keep going their way. Splataclysm just continuing to fall to Ikaryoku. The wipeout should end things, and Splataclysm going to fall. Ikaryoku taking game 1.
Ikaryoku definitely making very quick work of that. You saw like that splat or that T-Tech that was up forward. They get those tri-strikes coming out, and then just kind of sitting there waiting for each member of Splataclysm to drop in and picking them off as they come down. Doing a really good job keeping the team staggered there while the rest of their team was behind them collecting those clams and throwing them in. They're just very excellently played.
Yeah, and now you have to wonder, on a map like Splatzone's Museum de Alfonsino, the way that Ikaryoku were playing that should continue to favor them. Obviously, if Splataclysm does continue to run with that Hydra, we will see that range advantage coming out for them. But man, once Ikaryoku got full map control, they just did not ever let it up. Splataclysm were seemingly unable to retake mid.
They sure were. I'm very interested to see too if you do see more range coming out from Ikaryoku here. Obviously, that faster-paced, more aggressive, kind of in-your-face comp worked very well for them there. But for Museum, it can be a very hard map to get into if you kind of get locked out, especially if you got like a leader sitting up there and they're just picking you from your own plat. It can be very scary. So, you know, with that Hydras too, that can do a lot of damage. It can work very well in this map. It can cover space. You can hold down the zone with that Booyah Bomb. It can be very scary. We do see them sticking with a very similar comp, I think, just switching off the machine for an extra splash here. And I think we see the same comp coming out as well on the side of Splataclysm. As both teams are now going to start just rushing towards mid, trying to get paint on that zone. You kind of see this bunny here in the middle doing their best to paint that. And the paint on the top of the screen you can see is just kind of going back and forth right now, as neither team really has the picks yet to take the zone.
Yeah. It's interesting to note, Splataclysm does actually make a couple of slight weapon swaps. Most notably, they get off the double bubbler that we saw in Game 1, switching to a custom junior, and while they still have the roller, they've also switched out their wiper for a splatter shot, head-to-tech splatter shot, and unfortunately it doesn't seem to be having much of an effect. Ikaryoku continues to hold on to map control, and they're taking the fight straight to Splataclysm. Sam, Hydra, everyone getting aggressive. 1-to-1 trades continue to benefit the team with full control in mid here, and especially with that crab being popped by Ikamari or Mira, then there's just not really a good way for Splataclysm to come back in through this route. They're just holding onto the zone. Triple Ink Strike popped, and another wipeout should be following. Members respawn just in time to prevent that from happening, but Splataclysm still firmly on the back foot here. They try and sneak things through via the extra drop in on their left side of the map, but they're just not able to get it in time. Splataclysm going to fall.
Wow, that was absolutely brilliantly played by Ikaryoku. As you said so well, they took that fight straight to Splataclysm, up in their plat, playing around that spinner, and just getting pick after pick after pick, almost finding the wipe, but them just coming back in just in time. And then you notice when they tried to drop off and take it the other route, you know that there was some coordination going on in that voice call, because almost immediately they were able to turn around, go back and help their last member in mid take them down again, and they were just never able to really find their footing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we are going to be seeing map 3 as this is, as best as I can understand, a playoff 3 tournament. Is that correct?
I do believe so.
At least for this this first round robin, just helping to make sure that everything is seeded as accurately as possible, going into our multiple different brackets. One of the bright sides of Swimmer Sync being that every team does make a bracket. So you will be able to play out a full tournament experience, get a lot of experience. Honestly, I'm glad to be seeing like a lot of teams wanting to sign up for swimmer sync. It's every single time. It just gets me.
Yeah, and I think the great part about this tournament as well is just like you said is so first of all it is play all three for sure here in our pool stage, but every team does get to go to bracket, and especially for newer teams who maybe don't have as much experience, that really gives them a chance to be able to play more games. They're not in just like a single or double elimination tournament where they get knocked out right away. And it gives teams a lot more time to kind of experiment and get practice against teams from all different skill levels. And I think that's one of the true beauties of SOS here.
Oh, tower control on Hagglefish Market going to be imminent. As we head into tower control, what exactly do you think Splataclysm could do to try and shift things up?
One of the things I definitely think they need to work on is their disadvantage state. You kind of notice there, both in Mako Mart and in the last match on Museum, is once they go down, they kind of get in a little bit of a rush to try to stop the push. And in doing so, they kind of end up in a little bit of a staggered state. And I think if they can hold back up and wait till they're all up, especially with that Hydra of theirs, they'll be in a much better position to defend since they're not going to always be in a man down state. And I think that's definitely something they're going to have to look forward to and be a little bit more careful about. In the more of the neutral game, I think it's just taking it a little bit slower, not being as eager to make a push. They've definitely got to wait until they get those picks. We know that they can get them, as we see here, already 2 down on the side of Ikaryoku, 3 down now. Beautiful play from that stamper there, or that wiper there, sorry. They know how to get picks. They can do it well. This wiper is just going on a killing rampage, but their team needs to be up there to support them to get this push really started.
Yeah, in a situation like that, you'd like to see someone like the Hydra or even the Roller on tower. But now, with another Ultra Stamp ready, Splataclysm have their best chance at taking a strong lead for really the first time this match. And Checkpoint 1 will fall. Crab going to take care of one of the players from Splataclysm, but I guess not. I was going to say that the rest should have a strong chance at being able to defend this tower going forward, but Ikaryoku just collapses and Splataclysm sent right back to their base. They do still maintain a surprising amount of map control after respawning, but the fights just aren't going their way now.
No, and this is definitely where I said they need to make sure they're playing with a little bit more care than they have in the previous games. They did take a nice lead there at the beginning, but those can evaporate really quickly if you begin to stagger. We see here now that they're doing a much better job this game, I think, of waiting till everybody's in and playing together. But that Crab just getting those picks that they need on the side of Ikaryoku with just the Hydra that was left up. Now they're going to get a Booyah Bomb, which will be able to clear this tower, but they need to be able to get those members out from under that tent up there to be able to stop this push.
They still maintain the lead, Splataclysm does, but Ikaryoku have the tower they're driving, and they manage to take the lead, as well as take one of the players in Splataclysm down, make that 2, all down to the Hydra and the Roller, and Ren trying to take as much space as they possibly can, but they fall shortly after. Still, though, Splataclysm fighting back, get the wipeout, prevent the knockout, but man, they have a long road ahead of them. Checkpoint 2 still up against them, in addition to all 4 members of Ikaryoku as they retake the field.
They sure do, and we need to just kind of see them wait out this Crab, and then what we need to see really is that amazing gameplay we saw out of Broth earlier. Coming back out is what we need to really have here for Splataclysm to stay in this. They were able to get forward. They got, I think, like 6 kills on that opening before they went down, but it looks like they are going to be wiped out. Splataclysm really just kind of struggling here now. Ikaryoku already up in their base. You have the Tri-Strikes coming out. This Crab sitting up here. It's not looking very good, but the tower still has a little bit of ways to go. As it's approaching this turn right here, they aren't able to score quite yet, and they still do have that 3rd checkpoint to get through. But Ikaryoku was doing a great job there. They're down 2 now. But you kind of see that, like, you see the Splash that's right there doing a great job. They're going to pop their crab here. Ikaryoku's doing a great job of making sure that they're not giving up space, even when they go members down. And that's doing them a really huge favor in their pushes and stopping Splataclysm's pushes.
It's not even to mention the constant 1v1s that Splataclysm are taking, whether or not it be by force or by mistake. They're just constantly having to deal with multiple players from Ikaryoku at once, and they just keep getting picked off. Ren trying to dive in with the roller, has Broth back to support them, but Broth going to fall to the Bloblobber on tower, all down to the Hydra yet again. Clank can only do so much on this backline, does manage to get a nice shot on Hydra, but now doesn't really have the positioning to do much else. Is going to land towards the tower, does manage to get Kit off, but it's going to take a little bit more than that. Splataclysm needs these picks in order to be able to fight back. Hydra just continuing to hold this vantage point, takes out Broth, and whether or not they fall, that's already a huge pick. Splataclysm needs every player alive they can get as they try and retake mid.
Yes, they sure do. Now we see this crowd coming out, and the Booyah Bomb from the Hydra the only one up, but it gets caught on this tent, and now with all the members of Ikaryoku just kind of collapsing down on them, it's going to bring Splataclysm still to a man-down situation as they're trying to defend here. With 7 seconds left on the clock, they really need to get these members of Ikaryoku off the tower right now, but they go 2 down, and Ikaryoku is going to just hop right back on.
That will do it. All 3 maps in this set going to Ikaryoku. They looked very, very strong against Splataclysm, especially for playing with a couple members that may or may not be relatively new to the team. Obviously, Sam from Splataclysm Imbeciles playing alongside a couple members of Ikaryoku. Hydra, not entirely sure where they're from, but either way, this group playing with a lot of synergy, a lot of just strong awareness. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do in the rest of the tournament.
So am I. That was excellently played. Ikaryoku, a team I am pretty familiar with. I believe they were also in Ludi Div 8 season this year, or this season, and they just constantly, every time I see them, have very great performances, show that they, know what they need to do to win the game. Very well, good awareness, knowing positioning where they need to be and which members of the opponent team they need to take out to make their pushes. Absolutely great awareness there as they will be continuing, or well, everybody will be continuing on, but with one belt or one under their belt, they know they'll be going into a little bit higher of a bracket this time. So very exciting for them. And it looks like we will be getting into our next match here very, very soon with Masquerade versus 99 Problems, but SOS is all of them.
99 problems, about as many problems as it seems like Splataclysm had to face last time, but let's hope that these two teams are a little bit better equipped to deal with them. We're going to be getting right into the next match as soon as possible. No break for us just yet as we get into round 2 of these round-robin pools. This match going to be brought to us from Group I. Let me see how both these teams did during last round. Both ended up falling. Axolt and the Grillers winning 3-0 against 99 Problems and Masquerade respectively. So this match has a lot more standing than it might have otherwise had. This is to try and tie you up with second in that group. So this match is going to have a lot of pressure associated with it.
Definitely quite a challenging first round for both of them, both Axolt and the Grillers being pretty notable teams. So I'm sure that was a very interesting experience for both of them, but I think this one will be a much more even match. So I'm very excited to see that. Haven't really heard of either of these teams before. Obviously, I'm sure that 99 Problems, SOS is all of them is a pickup here. And we're gonna hope for their sake that they aren't facing 99 Problems in this next match.
99 Problems going to be Cactu, Cannon, Scythe, and Jump. Meanwhile, for the side of Masquerade, if I can remember how Battlefy works and that I have to hit the X and not back to close the roster, Masquerade is going to be Lauren, Icy, Nito, and Riddy. I'm not entirely familiar with all of those players. I swear I've heard the name Masquerade before, though.
Yes, and I believe Icy, if this is the Icy I'm thinking of, is from Tacta Rulers as well.
I see the only player not with the MQ in front of their name, so I wouldn't be surprised if it is the Icy that you're thinking of. Yeah, check the players right there.
Yes, and we actually see Cactus from Aquatic Vanguard on the side of 99 Problems, but SOS is all of them. That's quite an interesting pick, and I think Scythe is from Ember, if I do remember correctly as well. So that's going to be quite an interesting team. It's going to be definitely a strong one to look out for.
Yeah, your knowledge on who's on what team might be a little bit more updated than I am, so I will just take your word. But I do know a fair bit about these maps. Rainmaker, Scorch Gorge, Brinewater Springs, Clam Blitz, and Splatstone's Mako Mart. I like one of these stages.
Oh, I am a little bit biased. I love all three of these stages.
Well, yeah, but you're a backline. You get to like all of these stages.
I do get to like all of them. Although Rainmaker is probably the only mode I really like on Scorch Gorge. Not quite a fan of the
I'll give you that. Scorch to me is in like the at least it's not mincemeat tier. Same with Brinewater actually, though I don't think I've had a lot of experience on Brinewater Clam Blitz.
Brine and Water Clam Blitz, I think Clam Blitz is definitely its best mode. I think that there's a...
Really?
Yes, I think it's really good. I think there's some great fights that happen in the mid. It is the one thing I'll say, it's a little bit of a shorter map, so some things that I see, I kind of see that ping pong happening between teams a lot, where they'll make a push, they'll all go down, and then in that time, that opposing team picks up their pity and is already in the basket before the other team can all get respawned. So that does tend to happen some in that map.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. To me, that's just not exactly why I would like Brinewater. But we aren't going to be seeing it yet as we get into Rainmaker on Scorched Gorge to start out round 2. Masquerade versus 99 Problems, but SOS is all of them. Another Hydra coming out.
We do see a Hydra coming out. We see a Tri-Stringer coming out on the side of 99 Problems. I'm going to be a little bit biased here because I love the Tri-Stringer, but I think it's such a fun weapon to
I
play.
Could not agree more.
It's really fun. I think it's cool to watch. It applies, great chip damage and a lot of zoning and pressure because you kind of like you're stuck with a choice, especially in a mode like Rainmaker, where it's like, are you gonna push forward? And you know who's gonna be pushing forward right now? 99 Problems. With that wipe down onto the side of Masquerade, they're gonna very easily be able to claim this first checkpoint, get those tri-strikes moving forward, just creating a lot of pressure on the Masquerade right now.
Scythe with a double, I think. Chum's just going to keep rushing forward. I believe the crab tank was popped with the side of Masquerade to stall that push out just a little bit longer. And they are going to be able to recover, but 99 Problems, they were able to get a fair bit past that first checkpoint. But also, they still have full control of the map. And Masquerade's not even able to fight out of their side of the map. Sure, they get a pick on one, but it's easily traded out, and double 99 Problems just continuing to put up this just fast and furious aggression on Masquerade.
Yeah, you see Scythe now coming on to that Hydra. They live by going into their Booyah Bomb, but they're still just purple all over this map. They are able to get some picks onto 99 Problems, and this is definitely their opportunity to get some more orange down onto the map, but they need to move quickly because 99 Problems has showed that they're not going to hesitate with going forward.
Made control back even, but you can't help but wonder if Masquerade almost missed an opportunity there. Could have tried to fight forward just a little bit more, but they do manage to catch out Scythe in mid right now. The temporary 4v3 Icy trying to put up the pressure does manage to find Cactus as well. These players not able to stay up for very long for the side of 99. Icy going to grab the Rainmaker now, dodging the triple ink strike on their way in, and this checkpoint should be found, but no, Icy going to be driven back at the last moment, but still, the trades are good. Just the Tri-Stringer left to beat, And the Toxic Mist is going to slow things down. Checkpoint not going to be found quite yet, but finally, Masquerade, excuse me, able to break through 99 Problems' defense. Icy now switching to a more aggressive play with that Zipcaster, and Masquerade looks to continue driving forward. Ito now with the Rainmaker, but falls to Scythe. And no, the pressure from Masquerade just falling. Icy goes down, all left up to Riddy on that Hydra. Does have the Booyah Bomb to try and hold mid for just a little bit longer, but instead just opted to take the fight to them. Booyah Bomb finally popped. Neutral about to be had, but Masquerade unable to take the lead.
Yes, you saw an excellent defense there from 99 Problems, as they were able to just stall it out long enough to prevent that checkpoint from falling so soon, and then just responded so well. There is a lot of orange here still in mid now, but we know, like, you see all these tri-streaks coming out, 2 down on the side now of Masquerade, that 99 Problems isn't going to waste a moment getting in here. You can already see Cactu taking a very aggressive positioning here along with Scythe, creating a lot of pressure. It looks like Cactu might be going for the a little bit of the sneaky flank. They didn't end up taking that. They did throw some burst bombs, get some nice pressure. The Booyah Bomb comes out, but they're able to dodge it, now increasing their score, kind of just holding forward as much as they can, taking the Rainmaker all the way to 28.
Not only that, but they force Icy to trade 1v1 to stop the knockout. There's still so much pressure being put up by 99 Problems, but the Crab Tank going to do its best to alleviate that. Scythe still trying to be as much of a nuisance as they can before getting out. The Crab Tank popped, the Hydra goes down. Suddenly, the wipeout on the side of Masquerade, I don't think that it will. The triple Ink Strike going to confirm it. 99 Problems, they get the knockout. All on the back of that one pick on the Rainmaker.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think you just saw there 99 Problems playing a very, very aggressive game. They kind of just, would get up in their house and just refuse to leave. And you saw great coordination there as they were able to pick up that Rainmaker, protect the, ramp going up with those tri-strikes, not ever giving Masquerade a chance to stop that final push.
And now we head onto a map that you, I'm sure, like a little bit more than I do, but either way, I'm very excited to see how these two teams play on it. Heading to Brinewater Springs Lamblitz. You talked a little bit about how this map is, again, it's rather compact. Like, once, the baskets are just so close to each other, so once the ball gets rolling, it usually doesn't stop, be it one way or the other. How are these two teams going to have to play around that?
I definitely think that, we're going to want to see Masquerade move a little bit faster than they were in this previous game. 99 Problems, just they're going forward without much hesitation. They know that they've got each other's backs. They know that they can win their 1v1s, and that's kind of going to be key here. In a map like Brinewater, where those fights matter and there's so little space to take, that, winning those 1v1s consistently and being unafraid to push forward are going to be huge advantages for them here. We're going to see them being able to make, if they get a clam and they're able to get a pick down, 2 picks down, we're going to see them moving up and being underneath that basket very, very fast. And we need Masquerade to respond very similarly here, because if they give time for 99 Problems to respawn and get back in for the defense, it's going to be really difficult for them.
Brinewater Springs on the horizon. Clan Blitz soon to follow us. I like Clan Blitz. I don't know if that's as controversial of an opinion as it was in Splatoon 2, but I really like how Clan Blitz is designed.
I think in a competitive sense, Clan Blitz is probably the best mode in the game, at least in my opinion. In solo queue, it struggles from lack of communication, but in team sense, I think there's incredible plays that happen. I think that, not just having one objective you're staring at, having to use communication to keep a better eye on people, it's really good.
We're going to be seeing some comp changes coming out from both teams. Both backlines, interestingly enough, switching to some form of charger, and already Chum winning out that charger 1v1. Or interestingly enough, we're also going to be seeing the Blaster coming out from Masquerade. I believe specifically of the range blaster variety.
Yep, and we see all these clams being tossed as 99 Problems throws those clams to each other to make a power underneath the basket. They're already down to 53, and that's what I was talking about. Once they got those picks, they just pushed right up underneath that basket. And I think here too, notably, having that E-leader here is a huge advantage for them. While you can use that scope or splatter scope to make it a little bit safer of a push with the ink fact, that having that range down can be really tough for them here, since E-leader can just stare across this whole map. It does look like Masquerade is finally able to stop that push, but with 41 points on that, they're going to have to make a huge push here. And kind of like what I said before, they're taking a bit of their time trying to move forward. And right now, you know, you already have all the members of 99 Problems back up and ready to defend this basket. Icy is doing a great job getting under here, chasing up that E-leader. They are able to get them down, but where is the clam? You only have 4 clams on the side of Masquerade right now.
Ito absolutely robbed, trying to use the special that is totally functional there. Scythe managing to hold off on defense, but does get picked out by Rido. Splatter Scope finding its mark. Long-range weapons continuing to rule the day here on Brinewater Springs. A couple of specials now ready for the side of Masquerade, Inkfact being one of them, but Crab Tank being the other. And with the forward space that Masquerade has taken so far, you can't help but expect that this should be a push, but no! Icy going to fall before the action even begins, and now as Crab Tank gets popped, it is able to find one, but not much beyond that. Actually gets taken out outright by Cactus, and now 99 Problems is the one left with the Power Clam. Masquerade only has the pity left, and it's not in the hands of anybody. This push is dead in the water.
Yes, it seems 99 are Masquerade right now kind of struggling with when they are pushed up in the enemy base and they have all that space, they don't have the clams, but then when they do have the clams, they don't have the people up anymore. So quite a bizarre situation for them to have to deal with now. You are going to see Masquerade or 99 Problems start pushing in now. There's 3 down. They get wiped out just as they're about to throw that. A huge stop there for Masquerade as you had those 2 power clams there. That could have been very bad for them. They're going to rush straight up trying to claim this space. You got the crab coming out, but this Cactu here is going to do a great job staying there, trying to stop it. They are able to get Icy, and they're trying to find one more. They do get assistance from Scythe there. Masquerade is going to be able to score, but it does look like this is where the push is going to come to an end for them.
Yeah, and even when they get full map control, even when they have that Crab Tank ready, there's just not enough players for Masquerade to deal with all the aggression that 99 Problems is able to put out. John playing super aggressively with this E-leader, just trying to hold Masquerade in their spawn for as long as possible. 99 Problems just constantly keeping up the pressure with the map control, and the bubbler just to secure things. Masquerade do manage to find a couple of picks, Icy getting back into the mix. Power Clams online for 99 Problems though. Masquerade under constant pressure here as we head into the final minute of this map 2.
Yes, it is, and you see now another one going down, and you just see that 99 Problems is doing what they've shown they could do last game too. They're just playing very aggressively. You've got Scythe up here ready to get these picks. You know, you got the shots that were coming in to support them as well from that Crab Tank. They now got the Whale coming out, and they're just going to make space. You guys saw that teammate of theirs was able to sneak by. They got 2 power clams in there, blasting through their penalty. With 2 down now, though, that's probably where that push is going to end. But, you know, all they have to do at this point now is really stall out the time. The pressure isn't on 99 Problems to get a KO, because they don't need it. They just need to hold the space and prevent Masquerade from coming back.
Icy trying to fight, but as soon as Ito goes down, there's just not much that Icy can do, skirmishing for a Slayer that just no longer there. Masquerade with 1 final attempt left to go. They do have a lot of mid control now. They have the Pity Clam ready with a few other power, just clams of their own. Ito going to make space with that Wavebreaker, or not Wavebreaker, Reef Slider, excuse me, doing about the best job possible there. Cannon gets taken out by the Inkfact. This is the opportunity that Masquerade needs, but they don't have a lot of clams. Riddy has a power clam of their own, but it's actually going to be a slight downgrade from the 7 that they had earlier in terms of points.
It is, and now you see that splash wall set up there, Scythe ready to come in and get those kills. A valiant effort there from Masquerade, able to get some good points on the board there, going down to 50, but it isn't going to be enough to take the game.
So 99 Problems going to take this move up to either second or third in their group, depending on how well they do in this last map. And, of course, who wins or loses in that other match of Group I, if I remember correctly. But Masquerade still has a chance to leave an impression here. Splatzone's Mako Mart. I liked what I saw from Masquerade a lot better than what we saw in Scorch Gorge. Obviously, the result a little bit better, speaking for itself, but even still, it looked like Masquerade were able to take these fights a little bit more coordinated. They had strong ideas going into their pushes, but it seemed like they just weren't able to keep enough players up for long enough to actually do something with the pushes.
Absolutely, it's kind of what it seemed like. Kind of like what I mentioned before too, is like they would have the positioning right, they'd have the people forward, but no clams. And by the time they were able to get that clam economy together, they just didn't have the people anymore. But maybe a little bit of a different story with Splat Zones, as they're not going to have to be, searching all over the map for clams. And if they can get their team play together here and focus more on fighting with each other, not having to take unfavorable 1v1s, it may be a better situation for them here. I'm also interested to see what kind of comp is going to come out. We saw 2 different comps from both of the teams on each map. Rainmaker, obviously both teams kind of playing a bit more aggressive, less range, and then bringing out the range for Brine Water. I'm interested to see if that comes back out on Mako Mart, or if they're going to opt to run those aggressive comps again.
I mean, the range blasts are so good in terms of just poking up on those stacks, but I don't know. That aggro style seemed to really suit 99 Problems, and especially if Masquerade continue to use, especially like if they bring the Hydra back for this map 3, I think that it's very, very possible that that more aggro style for Masquerade could, or for 99 Problems, excuse me, could be a huge problem for Masquerade.
It sure could. What I'd love to see come back out again is that Tri-Stringer. I think that could be a really good pick here. I think it provides a lot of pressure onto those stacks, kind of prevents you from just standing up there and getting splats. And and ever since the buff that it got, it paints a lot better as well. I think it would be a very interesting pick for a backline.
It sure does. Obviously, you do have to keep the map and the mode in consideration when coming up with these comps, but we're actually going to be seeing something completely different from Riddy Chum, continuing to rock the E-Leader, but the backline on the other side instead switching over to a Nautilus, which is something that I don't know about you, but I haven't seen in a hot minute.
I haven't seen it in a while either. I toyed around with it in, Splatoon 2 is quite great there, but I don't see it played a lot nowadays. 99 Problems is going to take a quick early cap of zone. As both teams are now going to play around here, you got this leader that's able to sit up here on this stack, and now I'm wondering if you're going to kind of run into a similar problem as you ran into last game, where the E-leader just kind of rules, and it's hard for them to get back in, but with this leader only up, now it's time for Masquerade to push forward. They do get in there and take the zone, but with them now being the team that's running the in-your-face aggressive comp, they need to really get up further past the zone.
That Crab Tank going to catch out Cactus as they tried to escape using the Ink Rail. And the trades they're fast and furious, but they're on opposite sides of the map. Cannon has found a way for their team to get back in. 99 Problems taking full control of the left side of the map, but losing the lead in the process. 3v3 now as one of the players from 99 Problems respawns in. Masquerade should be able to hold onto this zone through this next push. Chump looking for something, anything with the E-Leader, but instead going to run right into the Nautilus. Does manage to trade themselves out, but Masquerade get a very sizable lead, almost 30 points, penalty points in the way of 99 Problems, but they do manage to get that delayed wipeout. Masquerade now just reduced to Riddy on that Nautilus, trying to poke and prod their way back in, but 99 Problems are set up for a very dominant mid-hold.
Yep, and we see that crab tank coming out. Cannon kind of just backing off from it, playing a little bit safer. Definitely the good choice there. Right now, the big thing that 99 Problems needs to do is maintain a man advantage. But with that Booyah Bomb coming out and all the paint, the zone is going to flip back in favor of Masquerade. 2 went down on the side there, but now you see 2 down again. You just kind of see these picks coming back and forth. It looks like it may be enough here for the zone to flip potentially, but no, Masquerade is going to stop that. They're able to pick off the range blaster and hold this for a little bit longer. They need to cap. They get it right there, but go down to the leader. That's going to be pretty problematic for them there. The zone is still ticking, but with 2 down, you can expect that 99 Problems is going to cap right there. And they're going to be set up, right now it's only 44 to 35. That's not a huge lead for Masquerade, so they need to play this carefully to get back in because they need to extend that lead.
And Masquerade now getting stuck in their spawn. They do manage to get a couple of very important picks to fight out. Ito pops the crab tank, trying to paint over zone as best as possible. It might be enough to stop the lead from switching hands, but no! 99 Problems takes it right back, and they get the pick. Ito goes down. The 1-for-1 trades continuing to happen, but they're constantly favoring 99 Problems. Masquerade, though, does manage to find a couple picks of their own. Cactus getting an all-important pick onto Icy there to make that back line for Masquerade not safe. Does get stuffed out, but the zone unable to be captured by Masquerade because of that. They finally get the zone, but now we're right back where we started. Players continuing to drop like flies. 1-for-1 trades frequent. Scythe looking to try and pick off Icy there. And this duel might decide everything. It ends up going as a 1-for-1 trade between the 2 players, so I don't know how much that actually decides, but either way, Masquerade have a lot of work ahead of them.
Yes, they do. The zone timer coming down to 29 now. Cannon going to do a great job popping that bubbler there, preventing, Masquerade from putting down Ink. Now just kind of having a fight here with the sloshing machine, able to finally get that pick as they kind of just shoot at each other in each other's faces. 2 down now on the side of Masquerade, 1 forced to jump home. 99 Problems is having an excellent hold here.
Masquerade do have the crab tank up from Ito, but it's gonna get shut down. Cannon continuing to be this nuisance on the back lines, and it's all down to Lauren, just trying their best to stay alive, but unable to do so. The clock ticking down, and 99 Problems, after a strong start for Masquerade, are able to counter push right back into the game and take game 3. They take the set 3-0, and Masquerade unable to get even that last game to show for their efforts in the set.
Yes, unfortunately, and that's how it goes. Sometimes, a 0-3 doesn't look the best, but it doesn't mean that you're definitely, not to be a threat. Masquerade did a really good job there, holding that zone for so long, definitely giving 99 Problems a run for their money, more so in that last game than any of the others. Just showing that, hey, you can't underestimate us from those first 2 games, as they were almost able to kind of sneak something out there. But it is going to be 99 Problems moving up in their bracket and getting a little bit of a better positioning going into, the second phase of the tournament later tonight.
We continue on into the depths of Swim or Sink 99. So we see a team that I am very familiar with coming up next in Marine Melody versus Red-Eared Slider. Marine Melody, a team that I've heard quite a few things about. One of my friends subs for them a fair bit. It's Marine Melody.
It's Marine Melody. I'm great friends, actually, with everybody on Marine Melody, so I'm always very happy to commentate their matches. A team that's definitely
We're not biased,
improved.
we swear.
Yeah. We'll root for both teams equally. I just know Marine Melody a bit better than I have never heard of Red-Eared Slider, but I'll be definitely giving them both a fair shot. Marine Melody is definitely a team that has been on a lot of people's radar. They've definitely done a lot of improving over this past year, and now doing really great finishes, in low ink, consistently making day 2 brackets. And just having a great performance overall. I'm very excited to see what we'll be seeing coming out from them on Inkblot Tower Control.
Both these teams currently sitting 1-1 in the top Group A. It's it's anybody's game, really. This dictates essentially which bracket they end up going to. Obviously, neither team, or both teams can't finish 2-1, so they're going to have to battle it out. One of these teams will be advancing to Hammerhead, I believe the other one to Mako, assuming I'm reading the bracket correctly. It's been a little bit since I've commentated, so I'm saying.
And looking at this, looking at the rosters, this is the Truester I know. Definitely got a strong player on the side of Red-Eared Slider. Don't recognize all the other team members, but of course, not knowing someone definitely doesn't mean that they're not great. A lot of Splatoon comp players can't know them all. They're seeded 32 and 33 as well, so I definitely think that they're going to be a very even matchup.
Yeah. Side of Red-Eared Slider rocking with the lineup of Snowflake, Tuster, V, Vi, not entirely sure how to pronounce that, and Zoya. Meanwhile, Marine Melody, Sean, Game Boy, Ivy, Lily, and Hawken, two very formidable teams that we're going to be seeing, battling it out to see where they end up going for their next match. Man, Inkflat Art Academy, especially on Tower Control, that feels like a map that you'd like to see in this type of situation, if you're either team, really.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good feeling map. One of our obviously returning from Splatoon 2 stages, and I think it's definitely a fan favorite. I think that tower control here is really great. You've got great spots kind of just for both the attackers and the defenders on each side of the push. You got that first side, which kind of favors the pushing team that has a lot of cover from that wall, not quite so easily able to defend against. But as it moves into their plat, the defenders have the high ground. There's a lot of angles that they can come at the tower from, and it's really unsafe for the pushing team. And I think it's just a really well-balanced map. You've got the stacks on both sides that weapons can play around, get some cover to advance, and of course the big open part of mid as well is great for like leaders or other backlines to be able to just stare through and get picks if people aren't being careful.
These teams are going to have to play super heads up. They can't really cave into the pressure as they get into round 3. Especially on a map like Inkflat Art Academy. Tower control, it does allow for a few, you're not going to immediately get punished for a minor error, given that you do have to get the tower to place as opposed to just bolting forward with the Rainmaker or Power Clan, or getting sent back away from the objective in splat zones. On tower control, it's still, while it might not be the most volatile mode, it's definitely one that can snowball really easily if you're not careful.
Yes, it definitely can. And I think that's just kind of a general rule with tower control as well, as that special charge does go to the offending team. And if they can kind of just set up in a good position and get the enemy team staggered, and then they're just continuously getting special charge, you can definitely put defenders at a big disadvantage. So when defending in tower control, you have to be especially careful to make sure you're not going to be staggering, you're not just jumping for free into enemy sight lines and getting picked off.
And especially on a map like Inkflat Art Academy, where there aren't too many long exposed sight lines when it comes to the attack or the defense. Obviously you do have a ways to look down into mid, but once you get up past the the slick or the choke, it's really hard to get the enemies off of your plat, especially if you do end up playing a backline. So that longer range advantage that you might have if you're running a charger or a leader or even a hydra against a team that doesn't have a backline. Sure, it might be easier for you to get those picks onto plat, but once the tables are turned and the enemies are right in your face, it's always going to be just that little bit harder to deal with it. So I'm curious to see which route the teams are going to go.
It sure can, especially I believe tower control has that little block that's kind of beneath the attic that gives the enemy kind of a ability
It
to kind of
does.
hop up into your plat a little bit early. And if you're a backline and you're up there in that attic and you're not paying attention to that, it's going to be an easy way for the enemy to punish you.
A little bit of a delay. I need to make sure that everybody can get in the room. Everybody's ready to go. Just got the right weapons for the job. Teams locking in their final weapon selections here in just these last 20 seconds or so, as we are getting ready for a very important round 3, game 1, Tower Control Inkling Academy. For those of you who are just joining us, we are currently in round 3 of pools for Swim or Sink 99. I believe I saw that there were a record amount of signups tonight, which, I mean, hey, mad props to all of y'all for coming out, but especially to these two teams, Marine Melody and Red-Eared Slider, getting ready to duke it out to see where their fates lie in the bracket stage here on Inkling Academy. No backlines for either team.
No, there isn't, and you're seeing a pretty similar comp coming out for both sides. You got, the different juniors on each side. You see the V junior coming out for the Bubble and Marine Melody, and the C junior coming out with Twerps and Wavebreaker on the side of Red-Eared Slider. And then the only other difference being is Marine Melody opting to run its Heat-Tech over Splash. So very similar comps. We're going to see them kind of playing a little bit of almost of a mirror match here.
Yeah, just barely managing to dodge that splat bomb as Red-Eared Slider finds their way to checkpoint 1. But the triple ink strike going to drive Red-Eared Slider back. They do manage to hold onto a lot of mid control though, and the picks are going in their favor. The Crab Tank going to be popped for Vi, finds 3, working on finding that 4th. Does manage to spot Game Boy, almost takes them out with a lob shot, but the tower still stayed put for a good while.
Yes, and now it's approaching this checkpoint again. It looks like they're definitely going to be able to get through it right now, as all that pressure means Marine Melody isn't going to be able to contest the tower at this time. But 2 down on the side of Red-Eared Slider. It's now time for Marine Melody to push forward, get that last pick. You see them, there they go, down a little bit of the delayed wipe on the side of Red-Eared Slider, as Marine Melody is now going to be able to start scoring.
And well done by Marine Melody to just keep their composure in that situation, with the Crab Tank just in their face after Vi found a couple. They did immensely well to make sure that they didn't give up too much of a lead. And actually, now they've retaken the lead of their own. The Crab Tank gets shut down. Lily does go down on the tower, but it's still moving forward. Haken and Zoyo trying to win out this machine 1v1. Haken ends up taking out Zoyo as well as one of their teammates. Ivy finds Vi. Marine Melody continuing to push. The Wavebreaker also being popped as a very defensive effort by Red-Eared Slider, and Ivy now deciding that they just want to push up with the stamp. Do manage to find one, get robbed of a pick on Vi, and they go back and get it themselves. Marine Melody gets the wipeout, and after what looked like a very slight and early scare from Red-Eared Slider, Marine Melody hit back, and they hit hard.
Yeah, wow, that was a great game from Marine Melody. You kind of saw there, getting through that first checkpoint, they were able to pop that bubbler, defend the tower, and everybody else on their team just pushed forward. I think you saw a great battle with that machine versus machine. Haken definitely getting a very key pick there to Marine Melody's offense, and then they were just kind of living up in their plat. And as you said before, once they're there, it's kind of hard to flush them out. And Marine Melody did a great job holding there, not giving up that space. You saw Ivy going forward, that stamp, just really pestering Red-Eared Slider and creating that space that they needed to push the tower.
I also want to give just a brief shout out to Lily for having one of the funniest splash tag titles that I've ever seen. I did not know Blade of Grass was a valid second option, but man, a real Blade of Grass is a very, very splash tag title. I love seeing people get creative with those. It's just, like, Splatoon is already a game where creativity just is fun, encouraged, it's exciting, and then you watch 3 crab tanks in a match and you kind of forget that, but man, there's just so many neat little things about this game that, like, it's so fun to watch.
Yes, it definitely is, and I'm very excited to see going into Rainmaker Undertow Spillway. This is actually probably one of my favorite map modes in the game, and I really love to see people play on it. I just think it's really fun. As I said before, I'm a Tri-Stringer main, and I really love the ability, especially with Thermal Ink I have on this map, to just kind of see everybody create pressure, and I'm very excited to see what they're going to bring out. You saw that both teams there were kind of opting for the more aggressive backline list comps. I'm very interested to see if that's going to come back out, or if you're going to see somebody coming out with the backline utilizing that glass area on the top to just kind of watch over the map and have a range advantage over the other team or not.
No, it's definitely very curious, especially when you don't have that backline. It's really interesting to see how teams opt to use the glass overhangs in mid. Without the backline, there's not really an obvious answer for who should go there. I'd assume the machines probably take up residence there a little bit more often than the rest, but who knows? Going into map 2, going to be seeing, I believe, the exact same compositions for both teams.
Yeah, I think the only change we're seeing here is
we are seeing the
Lily
custom
switching.
junior.
Yeah, Lily switching over to the custom junior, which definitely makes sense. I think Wavebreaker is going to be a much better choice here over the bubble. So a great switch there by Lily. As both teams now are going to be just kind of playing around here. They do have 2 down on the side of Red-Eared Slider. Marine Melody is going to pick up, go for the early checkpoint. It looks like they're opting to take it to the left side, a little bit of a safer approach option. Gives them more space to work with after popping the checkpoint. Hawken does go down. You have 2 down now on the side of Marine Melody. Lily's gonna get picked as well. It looks like Ivy's in danger of getting picked as well too here. Does go down, so a little bit of a delayed wipe on the side of Marine Melody. But you know, Red-Eared Slider is gonna have to wait for a while for that Rainmaker to reset back to mid before they can make a push.
And honestly, in that situation, Red-Eared Slider at really no disadvantage to just go for that Ivy. Trying to play a little bit of a lurk up towards there. Does manage to shut down the Rainmaker. Snowflake falling from behind, but Red-Eared Slider going to just continue on undeterred. Marine Melody still 2 down. Except nobody's opting to pick up the Rainmaker. Vi does manage to grab it and dodge the triple ink strike, but that could have been so much more for Red-Eared Slider right there. You can't help but wonder if that might have been a little bit of a misstep.
Yeah, it definitely could have been. You see 2 here on the side of Red-Eared Slider. You kind of have this Platana battle right here going off. With some help from Game Boy, they are able to win that on the side of Marine Melody. Now in possession of the Rainmaker once again, but there's a lot of ink down here on the side of Red-Eared Slider, so it's going to be a little bit of a slower offense here. You got the Wavebreaker coming out. You see Vi over here just doing a great job popping up this Crab Tank, trying to create pressure. But you see Game Boy responding with that Tri-Strike, shredding that Crab. Definitely one of the best counters to Crab now. Lily's kind of hanging around here, seeing what they can pick. But they are going to be forced to back up here as they're twerped and got, you know, all this ink flying at them. You know, both teams are just kind of stuck in mid and are looking for those picks that they need to break free.
I honestly respect the decision to pick up the Rainmaker a lot by both teams. That on most maps, picking up the Rainmaker, especially when there's these long open sightlines, can be a real disadvantage. But on a map like Undertow, you could honestly just use the Rainmaker rather effectively to get as much space as possible. Just clear out certain areas that might be a little bit hard otherwise. Still though, Mia, one of the more aggressive weapons for the side of Red-Eared Slider is going to be a little bit... It's going to be hard for them to get as much value without him on the field, and Ivy ends up shutting it down right then and there. Triple Ink Strike comes in, Ivy just going to rush forward, get as many points as they possibly can, get a surprising amount, shipping off almost 30 from the point deficit right there, and Marine Melody have an even stronger lead than they already did.
Yes, they do, and that was a great play there by Ivy. You saw them kind of just for a really long time sitting there on that side, no one really going over there to deal with them, so they were kind of able to just throw torps, annoy the Rainmaker for free, and eventually were able to pull something together there. And now, kind of picking that up, running, you can gain points really fast, even though it's not a safe route there. It's put them in a great position, especially if Red-Eared Slider opts to push it on the left-hand side, where they're going to have to go a lot further to get that same kind of point value out of it.
With a nice pick using the Rainmaker onto Hawken, and they're continuing to advance forward in the hands of the Splash. That does mean that they won't have the Crab Tank up. Ivy, just trying to deal as much damage on the backlines, uses the cover of that triple Ink Strike to take out the Rainmaker, and now just down to Mia, pops the Ultra Stamp, but unfortunately it's not going to have the same effect that it did a couple of sets ago. Gets shut down immediately like the functional special that it is, and Marine Melody just continue to hold firm here as we get into the last 30 seconds of map 2.
Yes, and I think I just want to comment on this again. I'm loving especially what we're seeing out of Ivy, just really able to get behind Red-Eared Slider and apply so much pressure. And now you can kind of see that they're going to be lurking around here. With 18 seconds left, you know that Red-Eared Slider is going to have to make a play, and Ivy's going to be here ready for it. You see all the way on this side, the machine is painting the way up. Is behind Marine Melody, but goes down to Hawken, and with 3 seconds left on the clock, they're gonna have to make a big play. They try to pick it up, but Marine Melody is able to take them out.
The bomb just placed right behind. A lot of players in those situations need to just grab, or feel like they need to just grab the Rainmaker and squid roll back, but the bomb placed perfectly to shut that down. Marine Melody going to be your victors for this set, but we still have one more game to decide exactly where they're going to be seated as they go into this next bracket. Clam Blitz on Scorch Gorge.
Oh boy, this is definitely one of the Clam Blitz stages of all time.
Sure is.
Gonna be interesting to see what they bring out again. I'm really interested to see how they play around with it. Both teams kind of just opting for more aggressive comps, and right now it's really just working in favor of Marine Melody. I think especially they keep getting that wiper behind Red-Eared Slider, and it's just causing all sorts of chaos. So right now, I think that, if Red-Eared Slider can focus up a little bit more on their defense, keep an eye out on that wiper and stop those flanks, they'll be in a much better position, because Ivy is really giving them a run for their money right now.
It's honestly just so impressive the value that Ivy's been able to find. I know we have been seeing a little bit of a resurgence in the Splatano wiper. Not quite as popular as the Stamper, but especially with players like Arashi from Last Resort picking it up, there's just so much value that you can find with it. It just needs a slightly better kit. That's all. Not even a slightly better kit. It just needs its special. Like, the second that thing gets a better special, we are all doomed.
Yes, it's such a strong weapon. My team's been playing around with it a little bit more as well recently, and first of all, especially after that paint buff, it's able to paint so well for itself. Just one horizontal slash, and it's able to paint its way through. It doesn't have to stop and do multiple or do a vertical slash anymore. It just got uncontested movement compared to other weapons in the game. It's got those really nice torps that it can kind of just poke at, especially when it's maybe at a little bit of a range disadvantage. And just everything it does combos so well off its other numbers.
On Clam Blitz for Scorch Gorge, I can't help but feel like this is a map where I don't think we're going to be seeing any major comp changes from either team.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, never mind.
We see the Nautilus coming out, and we do see a very similar situation coming out of Marine Melody, just switching back again to the V Junior and opting to run Splash here instead of the machine. Definitely a good pick there. Ivy does go down very early there, 2 down on the side of Marine Melody. Red-Eared Slider needs to work with this and get the aggression and find the clams. They have a lot of clams on their side. You see that they have 13 up there on the heads-up display. And now Marine Melody kind of forced to be on the defense. You see them all kind of backed up, but Hawken does have that crab tank. Gonna stop any immediate pushes coming out from Red-Eared Sliders. It's definitely unsafe for them to approach right now. But Red-Eared Slider just doing a good job right now, staying alive, keeping those clams up. The Nautilus does go down. And as we see Marine Melody take a little bit more space here, but everybody else is doing a good job staying alive.
But again, you can't help but feel like that was a missed opportunity for Red-Eared Slider. Obviously, now they're pretty much forced to push up, but they had so much map control. They only missed out on getting the clams in the right player's hands. But now, they are going to have a lot of clams available. 7 clams being carried in by Vi. They just have to stay alive long enough to get them in, and they will. 41 points remaining for Red-Eared Slider. And the clams spawning in just the right spot to keep this push going. They do need to fight out a little bit, and those clams actually will fall. It's all down to just the C Junior for Red-Eared Slider. They're going to have to back all that way up. Marine Melody continuing to push forward, now trying to strike back. And like we saw in map 1, when they strike back hard. Red-Eared Slider going to have to be very ready for this. They end up trying to push out around the left side of the map, going off of Marine Melody's standpoint. But Ivy finds 2 with the Ultra Stamp. It seems like it cannot work incorrectly for them. And Marine Melody now managed to start dumping some clams in of their own.
Yes, it does. You got a good push there, all the way down to 60 or 2. A good push, but they are forced to back up as they don't have the clams to continue it. But you see so many bombs, so much pressure still coming out on that side. Marine Melody isn't going to give up that space just because the push stopped. The Nautilus is over here going to try to take this fight. They get one down, but they do trade it out. Hawken doing a great job there supporting their teammate. Taking that power clam, keeping it alive, and are going to be able to re-pick up their own clams here so that Marine Melody can still just kind of keep up control of the clam economy. But they need to take mid control now. There's a lot of yellow coming out here. Hawken pops this crab, able to defend their teammate. To go down now on the side of Red-Eared Slider, and I definitely suspect that we're going to see a push here from Marine Melody shaping up now.
That Wavebreaker pick onto Ivy going to be so crucial. But Ivy with so much quick respawn, they're going to have plenty of opportunities to push back in. Ivy does go down, but manages to get the bubble up as well as the clam in. Hawken, though, doesn't have the support to push in. Their last remaining teammate goes down. Hawken now forced to just back up. First bomb's going to chip away at Vi on this grate for a bit, especially with Hawken being as revealed as they are. It's going to be hard for them to find any sort of value. The crab tank doesn't really get anything. Slows down Red-Eared Slider just a little bit. Inkstorm no longer in cycle, but they still have the Booyah Bomb. They still have a couple of power clams ready, or at least nearby. And now Ivy, the one to have a lot of the clams for Marine Melody. You'd assume that they'd probably like to pass these off to a teammate relatively soon, just to make sure that they don't go down before this pick with how aggressive Ivy's been playing and how well they've been playing when they've played aggressive. But now Marine Melody with a chance to try and score. Vi going to do their best to try and shut things down. I believe the wipeout comes in for the side of Red-Eared Slider.
Yes, they are able to get that wipe. That's going to be huge, especially with 44 seconds here on the clock. They have another power clam. They're able to get that in. You see that they have 7 more clams on their wiper. They're going to try to get them in if they can, but do go down to Marine Melody. You have the Slosher still kind of living there, playing around, trying to get a pick onto Game Boy and get some extra clams in. They're able to take it all the way to 11 now, getting their lead even further, which is exactly what they want to do right now, because with 22 seconds on the clock, any extra points they can get is more points that Marine Melody is going to have to put in overtime.
And it's going to take a lot of points for Marine Melody to get this back under control. They do have a few specials ready to try and push in. Stamp goes down relatively quickly. It is the Stamp still. Crab Tank going to be popped. Game Boy needs a couple more clams, but the Torpedo spots them out. That's 6 clams now just absolutely in no man's land. Ivy trying to do their best to collect things, make space for the rest of their team, but they go down. 2 go down on the side of Red-Eared Slider, and the jump in just barely getting things under control for Marine Melody, but Game Boy now left all alone, doesn't have any clams to work with, does manage to get a few, trying to keep this basket open, but unable to do so. Marine Melody take the set, but Red-Eared Slider take game 3. A very exciting set to watch, but Marine Melody going to be the ones taking that set advancing to 2-1 and advancing to a slightly higher bracket.
Yes, great set there, and that just goes to show, if you lose the first two games, doesn't necessarily mean that you're just out of it. Red-eared Slider doing a great job there, taking that third game is definitely going to fill them with a little bit more confidence going into the brackets.
And now, as we wait for the rest of the teams to finish up, that is going to be it for our round robin pools, if I remember correctly. I should be remembering correctly. I have the bracket pulled up right in front of me. There we are, round 3 of our pools. Take a look. Still waiting for a few teams to finish up. So while we wait on that, I believe we are going to cut to a quick break. We will be rejoining you relatively shortly for round 1 of our Great White bracket. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We've still got lots of exciting Splatoon action for you. Top Cut is up next. Hello everyone and welcome back to Swim or Sink. I'm still Anima, I'm still here with Toma, and we are no longer in pools, we are going into Top Cut right at the top of the list with our Great White bracket, and we are starting out with two very solid teams, the 8 and 9 seeds respectively for this Top Cut bracket. We've got MSCHF and we've got Axolt.
Yes, we sure do, and they'll be starting off in Wahoo World Splat Zone. Definitely a bit of a controversial map. We already see people in the chat going, "You Wahoo!" I'm gonna have to echo that sentiment. But you know, it could lead to some really
You're a backline and you don't like Wahoo?
I am not a Wahoo fan.
Interesting.
The lockout on that map gets really tough. And if you've got opponents on the opposing team who know where to set up and lock you out, staying underneath that edge, especially like a leader, like I can't look directly down from a ledge, I will die. So you know, I gotta be careful with that. We'll see what's gonna happen. I definitely expect that they're gonna be playing pretty aggressively and trying to push forward after they take the zone.
Yeah. I don't mind Wahoo. I don't like it, but I don't hate it.
It's definitely the most tolerable of all the Wahoo stages.
Well, that's true. It's also way more tolerable than some other maps.
That is also true.
Like I will take a Wahoo zones over a mincemeat anything.
Wahoo zones is at least playable. Mincemeat is who has the better E leader.
Mincemeat is just like you know the concept of neutral in fighting games.
Yeah, that's the entire game in Mincemeat.
Yeah. It's like if you play if you're playing Guilty Gear and just everybody has burst all the time, that's Mincemeat. You are just not getting anything done. You are getting a single pick and then just backing up.
That sure is what's gonna happen. Pretty opposite of what's gonna happen here in Splat Zones Wahoo, I would imagine. Because once you get control, if you can get a wipe or even a delayed wipe, yeah, they're going to be up on that base. They're going to be under that ledge on the plat doing anything they can to stop you from respawning.
I mean, Splat Zones Wahoo, at the very least, it's got a very distinct identity to it. And like you said, it's a map that it really favors teams who can put up these like strong lockout holds once you get control mid. How do you play around that if you're these two teams?
You definitely want to play carefully. You don't want to drop early without your team. Making sure to build up your special before coming back in, because that's going to be really vital for getting those picks on defense and being able to return safely. I think those are definitely the keys. We're going to see both teams rushing out now. We see Double Splash, Machine, Tetras on the side of Axolt. Definitely a very aggressive in-your-face comp. And then we see the Splash, T-Tech, Leader, and Machine coming out. That's definitely going to give MSCHF a lot more range.
Already a Crab Tank being popped very early on. Sunshine just kind of sharking with the Tetris right here. And they are going to spring into action. They do manage to find one. Managed to find, I believe, a second one, but I'm not entirely sure about that. I doubt just a tiny bit on the call, but either way, Axolt look like they're not lagging out whatsoever. They take control, they take the zone, and more importantly, they're taking a lot of space. Sunshine does unfortunately fall, but the Crab Tank going to be popped. Booyah Bomb in response. That should probably deal with it, actually deals with the player as well. And MSCHF. That looked like it could have been a very punishing hold for Axolt, but they just play around that so well.
They sure did, and as I kind of said before, they waited until their players were up. You saw them, they used that Crab Tank to create the space and get the picks they needed to get back in. That was a great show of strength on their disadvantage.
Now, Roltzy down here trying to just do their best in this sort of sharking position, trying to take as much space as they can, and now they decide it's time to activate. They get one jump in, they get behind, but I think the E-leader knew about it, like, right before it happened, so they're being forced to back out. The pick not going to find anything. Sunshine also goes down on the flank, and now we've got this duel of crabs, but MSCHF still has control of the zone, and now they don't.
Axolt is definitely able to take it there. I think a little bit of a commentator's curse.
You get used to it.
Yes. Now we're gonna see here. MSCHF gonna have to find their way back in again, build up their specials, play a little bit safely. They've got Vital Astra here, able to just kind of sit in a great spot right now. Looking in towards mid, finding a pick,
Oh.
and the Booyah Bomb coming out at the same time is going to be the opening that they needed to retake that zone.
Vital Astra with a phenomenal shot. And from there, it just kind of snowballs for MSCHF. 3 go down. The side of Axolt 1 does manage to respawn. And even though these holds haven't been super aggressive for the side of MSCHF, they've still been so structurally sound. They will have to deal with a couple of specials coming in from Axolt, though. One Crab Tank online and popped, Booyah Bomb. And then the other two specials for Axolt also now on the board as well. Sunshine gets one with the fall off from the Tetras. Does get spotted out, has to try and deal with the ice coming up from behind them, but Axolt now in control. They have the middle of the map. They're trying to push up a little bit, but not quite able to push up as far as they'd like. The Charger doing the best, doing about the best job that they can at holding that. And they do manage to find Albert as well. That's one of the slashes down. Sunshine trying to hold down this one area of the map, but MSCHF don't seem to be interested in retaking it. They even find it to steamroll up through the cross, but unfortunately, they're not able to do it this time. Axolt retake the lead.
Yep, it definitely seems almost like a little bit of a missed opportunity there, because without taking that zone, now Axolt is pushing it forward. They're up in the faces of MSCHF. 2 down, there's the wipe out, and that's going to be the game one going to Axolt, as they were just able to, without having that penalty, able to just pretty easily eat through the rest of their time.
Axolt is playing very, very well in that situation, never getting too flustered. They had some risky situations, but able to hand it very well in the end. And they take an early lead in this very important round one set.
Yes, that was a very great game there. We're going to be going now into Tower Control Sturgeon Shipyard. Definitely going to be a type of map that plays out very differently than Wahoo's zones. Here, of course, you aren't going to have the quick objective. You can take over, run forward. They're going to have to spend a little bit more time being a little careful guarding that tower as it moves pretty slowly. I think that those flank plays that you saw coming out, getting behind the opposing team, and kind of collapsing in on them could work out very well here. If you've got that tower coming up the right side, they come in from the left, get some jumps in there, and you kind of pincer the tower. It could be very effective defense here.
Powerful Sturgeon Shipyard. Another one that honestly just favors teams that are capable of holding their opponents in a strong lockout position.
Definitely, especially, I think one key thing you could see here is if they're able to get their sniper, that leader from their snipe to the opponent's snipe, that's going to be a very strong place that kind of looks all the way through into the enemy base and could really give them a good advantage there. We do see the E-leader coming back out there, so that range advantage is still going to be on the side of MSCHF, and we saw them use it well last round, and they may be able to use it to their advantage this round to squeak out a win.
They do have the range advantage, but we saw last game that Axolt has been playing aggressive enough to sort of help mitigate that range advantage, and sure, Vital Astra's been able to find a few just phenomenal picks with the E-leader. I say, as I believe a shot connected but didn't end up finding the frag in the end. But at the same time, Axolt, they've always been able to get back into the match after one of those picks happens. Unfortunately for them, it looks like a few more of those picks happen than just one. MSCHF has control of the tower and are pushing it forward, getting all the way to checkpoint 1 pretty much uncontested. And now with the specials online, this checkpoint should be theirs. Nobody from Axolt in a position to deny it. They'll take checkpoint 1. Spets has to deal with ice, somehow manages to do that before the Booyah Bomb goes down. A also falls and now just left to Vital Astra, trying to squeeze out as many points as they can. Get all the way down to 29, halfway through the checkpoint. A jump in also secures a couple of extra points, but Axolt do manage to hold on. They don't give that second checkpoint up, and they still have a way to fight back into this match.
Definitely quite a great lead there coming out, just a minute and a half into the game, pushing all the way to 27. But now Axolt is going to have their chance to respond. And we've shown before that they can play a very aggressive game. You already see this Tetra in here, the Booyah Bomb, picking off the leader on the side of MSCHF. And now this machine coming in onto their snipe, set up in a great position. They are able to take out the opposing machine, get a second kill. And now they're kind of trying to get that leader. Being careful. They do go down to the leader, though. 3 down now on the side. They get the wipeout. Not quite able to get all the way to 27, where MSCHF was, but definitely a great push nonetheless.
Just a few bad picks away from actually managing to take control of the lead. They lose out not only on their chance at the lead, but they also aren't able to keep control of mid after the wipeout. So now Axolt yet again on that back foot, and especially once Vital Astra gets set up in this position, you can see them trying to take a few shots towards Alberts. But Sunshine ready to take control, but Ice spots them out.
That was a great play there from Ice, definitely being able to protect their charger there and get them set up in a good position. Now it's just the Tetras up now to defend on the side of Axolt as they push through this last checkpoint.
That might have done it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be quite a hard push to stop as it just cruises on in for the KO.
That single play from Ice secures the game for MSCHF, catching out what at that point felt like the only way back in for Axolt. That potential double kill for Sunshine would have been so huge for the defense, clearing out the charger as well as finding a surprise pick onto the T-Tech. But it just does not go Sunshine's way, and we're going to game 3.
Yes, we are. This was a great set so far. Tied up 1-1 now. So now it comes out to Rainmaker on Museum. And, I think that we saw that Charger holding great positions. Ice giving them a great opportunity to set up. And if they can do the same here, it could put Axolt in a lot of trouble. Museum, pretty infamous for having these large open sight lines, and especially with that E-liter scope, having a little bit of extra range, they can pretty much sit pretty safely on their plat and reach all the way into the opponents, and it could definitely be giving Axolt some trouble.
It feels like Axolt had their chance a few different times on certain Shipyard, but things just didn't quite go their way. And now they're on the back foot, not only in terms of momentum, but also in terms of map. It is Rainmaker, and Rainmaker can be a little bit of an odd map for backlines in general. Just shots have to be way more precise. There's not really as much of an indicator of where you're going, and you can't get set up quite as well, but even still.
Yes, I definitely agree there, and of course you always have the decisive moment of, is the backline going to be the person to pick up? Do you trade off some of that range you have from that weapon, or do you let somebody else pick up, somebody who maybe move a little bit faster and is already more forward and doesn't have to take the extra time to come up to the Rainmaker? So you're gonna have to see what those teams make decisions on both sides. But definitely, just off of the comps we've seen, I definitely think this Rainmaker map here does favor MSCHF a little bit more. And Axolt is definitely going to have to find a way to compensate for that.
So, let's see if they switch up their comp. I believe they do. They actually do bring out an E-liter of their own. I believe that the scoped one as well. So, range advantage now a little bit back to neutral. Both teams continuing to have the leader, have this machine, have the splash. Only difference is just what weapon they're using to skirmish, but already we're seeing perhaps a little bit of, not inexperience per se with Ratsu, but just a different choice, rather. Playing the leader a little bit more aggressively. We saw them on that second splash earlier in the set. And so it's always interesting to see how two people are going to play the same weapon, especially when they play two very different playstyles maps before. But already it seems like MSCHF getting out to just a little bit of a lead, partially off the back of just not having that E-liter in the best position.
Yup, and that Booyah Bomb came in, gave great space. The pop now is going to just create a lot of paint in Axolt's base. You do see that Tetra is able to get a trade, now just one up on the side of MSCHF. They are going to be able to put a stop to that push, and now it's Axolt's time to respond. We do see the leader pick up the Rainmaker and goes down pretty early into mid. Axolt still doesn't really have a whole lot of control there. You see this. Oh, I was gonna say they were about to get a pick, but they go down to the sloshing machine on the side of Axolt, and Axolt does. Oh, they were gonna be getting the dunk, but that tri-strike comes out just in time to save the checkpoint for MSCHF.
Very clutch tri-strike. Neo Huge does manage to find Sunshine, and now it's all left onto Ratsi. Nowhere near, doesn't have the right weapon to contest that Rainmaker pop. And Ratsi, again, taking this aggressive upper position. I do believe that they managed to catch out Ratsi just looking for somewhere that they can pressure. Vital Astra has to back off a little bit, but instead they're just going to use it as an opportunity to reposition. Ratsi drops, trying to play as forward as possible. Very risky from the E-Leader. But they do manage to secure a little bit of the position. The Wave Breaker going to help with this potential push. And now, the Booyah Bomb comes in. Ratsi takes the E-Leader for themselves. Crab Tank up, though. Tri-Strike also coming in. That MSCHF just willing to dedicate everything to denying this push. Ice pushes forward. The picks are good. MSCHF hold off Axolt yet again.
Yes, and we saw them get that wipe out there, so they're going to very fast be able to kind of take control of this mid space again. You do have Axolt on the respawn, able to come back out, but they aren't quite able to find the pick onto the Rainmaker quite yet. It is backed up into this Rainmaker free zone right this second, but the Rainmaker is able to find a pick. Vital Astra doing a great job controlling 2 picks from the Rainmaker. His E-Leader tries to get a poke in at it, but isn't quite able to bring it down. MSCHF is just now creating a lot of space in their base. Needs to get some specials online to maybe help this push forward a little bit. We do see the Crab Tank coming out to try to stop this Rainmaker, but the Tri-Strikes are going to clear some space. The Booyah Bomb comes out in response, but it isn't enough. With just 8 seconds left on that Rainmaker timer, they are going to run it forward before they explode, but they are taken down by the leader now with 20 remaining.
Continuing to try and pressure forward, going to get the pop on the Rainmaker, but one of their teammates goes down. That's their splash. That means no Crab Tank for a good bit. A also gets traded out there. Or I think it was A. A does fall on the other side at least.
I think so, and you see this shark coming out, and they are able to get a trade at the very least, which is going to slow down Axolt on being able to make any progress with just about a minute remaining on the clock. Axolt still needs to be able to break this first checkpoint. This is no longer Splatoon 2, where you can just rely on one pick at the end of the game to be able to push it all the way through. If you don't have that checkpoint broken yet, you're gonna have to drop the rain and re-pop to be able to make the push in overtime.
Axolt trying their best. Sunshine trying to get up into the enemy plat. Does have the Reef Slayer to work with, but that's not historically been the most reliable special. Ends up going down to ice. Vital Astra managing to get the pick, but is fragged out anyways. Booyah Bomb comes in. E-Leader online. The Booyah Bomb stalling, but Axolt, they have the pop. They have a chance at making this. Ratsi does manage to get the jump. That's the checkpoint broken, and Axolt have the player advantage. They can try and get this done. They're continuing to be pressured, but no, Vital Astra going to get the pick on the enemy leader. Axolt going to fall 2-1. MSCHF will be advancing in the Great White Bracket.
Gosh, a great game played there by both of them. Axolt just, at the end was looking to be a very promising push, but that E-Leader just watching that Rainmaker, like I said before, having to drop and re-pick, they knew that, and they were just keeping their laser there ready to punish them for picking it up, and that game does go to MSCHF.
That is going to be it for round 1 of our Great White Bracket. It's also going to be it for me and Toma on the mic. We are going to be handing it off to another couple of great commentators. We've got IMAD and Siren coming, or Siren. I always forget how to pronounce their name. I'm fairly certain it's Siren.
I think so.
Despite saying it wrong the first time. Anyways, love you both. that's going to be it for us. But before we go, we do have a couple of very important things to tell you about. First up, hey, there's a new Jacksonville local. Got Squids on Ice, a Northeast Florida and South Georgia local. I believe it's a LAN. Happening on February 18th in Jacksonville. Single day event. Doors open at 6 p.m. Socializing. Splatoon event starts at 7. You don't want to miss it. Tickets are on sale now. Pizza and drinks and food and all that fun stuff is going to be provided. I mean, what more can you ask for? Be sure if you're anywhere in that area, just go support your local Splatoon community. Meet some other Splatoon gamers. It's a little bit harder to do for Splatoon, but honestly, like, if you haven't been to a LAN, just go just go. Trust me, you won't be let down. If you have any more details or any more questions, be sure to join the Squids on Ice Discord server. It's right there on the graphic. Tickets are on sale now. Don't miss out. If you're, like I said, if you haven't been to a LAN and you're in the area, just go check it out. You won't be disappointed.
Yes, and then I do believe we have one more advertisement as well. This Friday at 8 p.m. EST on the 3 vs 3 tournament, Tripnacity returns for its 4th event, now with a new format and counter picks. If you're interested, make sure to join the Double Trouble server at discord.io/double_SPL and get the Tripnacity roll. But as Anima said before, that is going to be us signing off for the night before we head off. Where can they find you, Anima?
Find me on Twitter at anima_casts. Do a lot of Valorant commentary, getting back into Splatoon commentary. Outside of that, if you're in a Splatoon server, there's a probably 50% chance that I'm also there. So hey, just feel free to pop in, say hi. DMs are always open. Just be cool.
And I was Toma. You can find me at Crest of Gautier on Twitter or at ttoma_ here on twitch.tv. Once again, thanks for having us on the mic tonight. We'll be continuing with Top Cut here shortly with our new commentators.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Swimmer Sync Great White Bracket. It is I, Mad Gamer II. I am joined by the one and only Siren.
Welcome, hi. My first time commentating with you, and I'm really excited about it because I have watched you before. So, you know, I feel like I'm kind of coming full circle. It's been a while since I've done an SOS, so normally I'm on proving grounds, and I should be back next time for that. But we are going to be getting right into it pretty soon. This is going to be Sanctuary versus Armageddon, and just looking at these rosters right away, I'm surprised to see Soren on the Armageddon roster. I don't know if that's actually accurate, but it is nevertheless kind of funny.
Indeed, and they do have the 5 members, so we don't know of what will be their roster playing today. That would be pretty interesting to see Soren in there if that is the case.
Yes. So we are going to be starting on Clan Blitz on Inkblot Art Academy. Another one of those maps that can go, you know, south or north, depending on how you see it very quickly. Just, you know, a map that has the momentum swing very dramatically depending on whether or not you let your team wipe. So I think playing this carefully is very key for both teams here.
Especially since, just considering Inkblot Art Academy, there's not a whole lot of space to move around with between the baskets. It's just like one drop and then you're there.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so if you're pushing and you wipe, you just, you know, you're gonna get punished right away. By the time you respawn in, your opponents are gonna be there already. And what do you know? That is actually gonna be my Soren playing on this roster tonight. So hi, Soren. All right, getting right into it here, we're seeing a very typical Splatoon 3 comp for the most part on the side of Armageddon there with 2 Splash-O-Matics right off the bat. But of course, the you know, outlier here is of course going to be that roller and that heavy splatling. But of course, when you have a roller, having 2 extreme painting weapons like a Splash-O-Matic will enable it to go very, very quickly.
Indeed, and looks like it's just this early matches, the early bit of the game is a bit of a just kind of skirmishing around because neither team really has a solid advantage. They're not going to try to push too deep into the base. We do see the 2 members of Armageddon go down, but Sanctuary is punished a little bit. They're not able to really make anything of it just yet. We do see the first Power Clam in play there by Armageddon. They have quite a bit of map control already.
Yeah, we're seeing a whole lot of yellow here, and it's sort of a lead up into a push for them. But with members going down, that's obviously not what you're going to be wanting to see here, though. They are still able to clean up some picks onto the side of Sanctuary, which is holding up this momentum for them very, very well. So we see them finally approaching into their plat. They're popping that wave breaker to get under that basket there to just continue this push.
And we saw the double crab get popped, completely just clearing them out of that plat and opening up the room for the heavy to just get in there and set up shop. They are going to get it down to 56, and with a couple members still in there, clams are getting thrown up right now. And ooh, it's a nice pick by the Inkzuka right there, and they're still 2 down.
Yeah, with these points still ticking down and that basket still open, this is a very scary situation for Sanctuary to be in here. You don't want this to happen so slowly and not get a full clear out, just due to the fact that you can't really abandon that basket and leave it bare, especially when you have playing someone so stealthily, like you have a Carbon on the other side. Like you just can't leave it you know, abandoned, even if you have most of the members down at that point. So we are still getting back into this here. We're finally seeing a bit of a clear out of that plat there, but just as I say that, Armageddon has found a way to sneak back in.
Yeah, the Carbon tried to get in there to make something happen, but ran into more than one of the Sanctuary members, so they were quickly taken out. But we do see several specials getting popped, and there's going to be a couple of trades going in, but with that juice in effect, they're going to be right back, and that's going to be a wipeout on Armageddon right here.
Yes, and now finally Sanctuary is going to have some space to breathe. They're going to be moving up just a little bit here, but they don't really have too much to follow up with it objective-wise. They do have that Pity Clam, of course, but they're going to have to be carrying quite a bit over in order to challenge the lead that Armageddon has made so early into the match.
Yes, they're going to need quite a bit of follow-up just to get anywhere near the lead. They're off to a good start about halfway down, and they still have solid control of the plat, but not really any clams on their way. There's currently a couple of clams coming in. They are respawning, but now Armageddon is slowly beginning to get ground back.
Yeah, Armageddon here, trying to get back into mid as safe as possible. We see them trying to get a lot of paint coverage here. They're trying to give as much space as they can to their carbon, just so they have room to run around and enable them to get these picks that will lead them back into their plant and go for the knockout, ideally in the end. But with other members going down, I think they're going to be opting into more of a defensive position from this point on in the game, as we do see here Sanctuary setting up once again to get another push.
Ooh, we saw the lesser known use of the juice. We saw the instant jump from the back to the members behind the basket, and while they were able to get it open, there wasn't too much follow up to really bring down the total.
Yeah, no, not quite challenging that total at this point in time. You know, they've kind of made it down, but with just another minute left in the game, I think Armageddon is probably gonna try and go for a knockout to seal the deal in the set. So, I that's just my main concern right now, is just Armageddon playing this very safe here and not really giving Sanctuary any room to breathe or really give them any opportunities to get towards their lead of 14 here, which is pretty dramatic.
With 2 power clams in possession, Armageddon will certainly take advantage if the opportunity arises, but it looks like they are going to be content to just hold the ground and not take any unnecessary risks, as they have only about 20 seconds left in the match. If they do get a wipeout here, that could spell disaster for them, but it looks like they are opting to get just as much pain as possible.
Yes, we do see a lot of coverage here, which of course is going to warrant some specials here, which will be great for the defense in the long term. We do see that Wavebreaker ready. I love this positioning from that Wavebreaker, putting it in a spot where it can't necessarily be shot at easily, but also is going to be very defensive for that plat there. And we're just seeing raining paint coming down from this snipe here, from that heavy splatling. That is going to slow down Sanctuary in such a way that it's not going to let them get in without some big fight, and that's exactly what we're going to be seeing here.
With only a couple seconds of overtime left, they are forced to jump in, but unfortunately the basket doesn't quite open in time. So this first match will be going to Armageddon.
Yeah, some very strong plays coming out from Armageddon that game. I think opting to go into more of a defensive state when necessary, and just seeing that their lead was something that was sustainable overall, and that's you know, a very hard niche to take care of. When you're playing Clam Blitz is, you know, it doesn't really feel like any sort of push is safe in most scenarios, but understanding what's going on in that specific match and whether or not it's warranted to just keep and hold that lead is something that's kind of hard to figure out in that moment, but I think they made the right decision there overall.
I'd have to agree with you there, and having had the early lead, they were able to fully utilize the power of having a backline there and just completely lock down their side of the basket. While they did have a couple of openings from the other team, they were for the most part able to just keep control throughout that match. I am quite impressed. The combination of the double splash with the heavy and the carbon is like a meta and off meta combo right there, and it worked out quite well, as we were just saying.
Yeah, I think there is a bit of a balance going on there, like a balancing act almost. And I think ultimately overall, when you do have 2 splashes, it kind of becomes more meta than not because of just how large of an impact it has on a game. And even just 1 splash can be overwhelming, but when you have 2 and you know, those 2 are enabling a very strong carbon player, that can be a lot to take in. But overall, I kind of want to see the applications of that within Splat Zones on Brine Water, just due to the fact that this is a map that has both this wide open area that favors range, and then also these little tiny alleyways on the side where, you know, you might see a lot of skirmishing. You're going to see the carbon just lurking there a lot of the time. But as I say that, maybe a bit of Commentators curse, we are seeing a swap off of the carbon, which I totally understand, just into more aggression here, which entirely makes sense.
Yeah, because it is the Splat Zones, having that carbon would leave them at a bit of a disadvantage as far as paint is concerned, then so swapping to the triple shooter will allow them to have a little bit more of the paint, especially considering the quad shooter on the side of Sanctuary. They're really going to need that extra paint. But picking the Hydra Splatling, we were talking about the range, but I was not expecting that.
I mean, I've definitely seen it from time to time. It definitely has its niches in some comps, just like we're seeing here. That Booyah Bomb does come in handy quite a bit. And you know, when you're trying to apply a lot of pressure from a long distance, I think Hydra fits that bill perfectly, especially with these Booyah Bombs when you need to cap the zone every once in a while. And having I believe it's an auto bomb on this kit as well, is also really, really handy when you're playing against really sharky players, because you never know when they're going to be sitting on this particular map. So just something that's going to scout that out will help.
Quite so. We are seeing that Booyah Bomb getting activated once again, putting pressure on the crab that was activated. But unfortunately, with 2 members of Armageddon down, Sanctuary is going to be able to move in and retake that zone before they're able to really get many points on the board. And now they're in a really poor position. Sanctuary is getting way up into Armageddon's base, and with the Inkling coming out, they're going to be able to stall for quite a bit of time.
Yeah, so we do see this T-Tech getting in a very aggressive position from the side of Sanctuary here, having to back up just a little bit in order to keep that zone in their color for them, which is working out for them in the long run, as that will extend their lead just a bit longer here. Spotting out one of the members, Gray, there, dropping on that side there, but not quite getting out of that fight alive is going to be them. So Armageddon here once again in control of this zone, and we're probably going to be seeing a bit of a mirror of what we just saw coming out of Sanctuary with these aggressive positions up into their base.
And considering your own base is pretty much the high ground of the map, you really do want to get up into the enemy base, because if you stay too much in the middle, you are going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage, especially when you have the double crab just raining fire on you. And even though it is pretty open in the middle, it is a very small zone, so if you let the other team get too much control, they can flip that pretty quickly.
Definitely. I think this is definitely one of those maybe more absurd maps and just the build of it, because normally I think these sides would be completely irrelevant, but because that zone takes up that entire midsection and you don't really always want to be sitting on it, you'll find a lot of skirmishing happens on these sides here. But with that being said, we're down to just the knockout here with 3 down on the side of Sanctuary. That will be the game for Armageddon, and I believe the set.
Yes, that is going to be game 2 for Armageddon. It is the best of 3, so they will be taking the set and moving up in the Great White. We saw that Sanctuary, they had some pretty close calls with the zone, but in the end they just lost too many of their members and weren't able to really continue the fight there.
Yeah, I think Armageddon just sort of mastered having the perfect comp for defending their base, and also having like this great aggression to go along with it. I think just having that Hydra scales really, really well with the way that this map is built, where if you're really pushed up, that Hydra is going to have a perfect little block in the middle to move up with them, and have those Booyah Bombs for those situations where, you know, the zone may have been left unguarded for a moment, and that is definitely really helpful for them so far. So now we're getting a look at this bracket here, and I'll be honest, I'm kind of surprised by these results and what has happened in round 2. We are seeing the 2-1 with Twighlight's Cruzada over Cherry Limeade, which is, I mean, of course, quite the surprise to me. You know, just understanding these teams quite a bit, I'm kind of interested to see what had happened over that set. But you know, whenever it's a 2-1 and a 3, best of 3 set, you know, it's going to be close.
Oh, absolutely.
And then Nawal and Ripping versus MSCHF is up 1 for Nawal, with EnviZion versus Paradox being up 1-0 as well. I have to wonder with that capitalization if that EnviZion is the EnviZion I'm thinking it is, which is a very old team, or we're just having a case of cool word makes a good team name. But I think the capitalized Z means it probably is the team I'm thinking of.
That could be, or if we have enough of the members of the returning team, it could warrant just a little bit of the change in the spelling.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that right now. Give me one quick moment. But I think we are gonna be going on a break momentarily. We do know right now that the winner of the set from EnviZion and Paradox is what we are going to be seeing next versus Twighlight's Cruzada. But for the time being, we will go in a quick break just to allow these sets to progress a little bit further. But we'll see you back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to Swim or Sink number 99 as our top cut continues. We are going to be going into that match, like I mentioned before, with Twighlight's Cruzada versus EnviZion. I am still here with Imad. He is still here. How are you doing, Imad?
I am doing fantastic. Excited to be here and commentating some wonderful Splatoon games with you.
Yes, and I know I'm not actually sure if you've been watching this tournament as much leading up to this. I don't know if you have any specific thoughts about these two teams. I know I gave you a little bit of context about EnviZion while we were on our break, but probably not enough for you to gather a informed opinion on this. So do you have any specific thoughts before we get started into this set?
Not that any that comes to mind. I'm a little rusty with trying to keep track of like what everyone's been playing, because things have been spicing up. Things have been just changing around, especially with like the different maps and modes.
Yes, definitely. I can't wait to see what March brings as far as the new season, and I hope to see even more spice coming into this community and seeing these new fresh comps. But we are going to be starting on Rainmaker on Mako Mart, which I feel some type of way about this one, but it's ultimately the same thing as what I've been used to for all these years. But it wasn't really a map that we played before, so it is a bit of a culture shock to kind of see it back into tournament rotation. But we are going to be getting right into it here. This is going to be it's going to be a game of Rainmaker, that's for sure.
It's going to be a game of Rainmaker here in the Mako Mart. I have to say, I haven't really seen much of this with the new pedestals. As you said, it hasn't been, I guess, too often in the rotation for tournaments. But we were seeing the fight for pop in this beginning set. And EnviZion gets the pop, but they lose their stamper.
Yeah, their stamper really on is not going to work out for them too well. However, two members of Twighlight's Cruzada going down, so kind of forcing them to pop this crab very early on, but that isn't going to stop EnviZion from picking up this Rainmaker and starting to get it a little bit moved here, and we're seeing a bit of aggression coming out from them as well.
Yes, EnviZion's just trying to find an opening. They have the Rainmaker in possession, but they do have a member down. And with Twighlight popping some specials, they are going to have to back up a bit. They aren't have a lot of room to maneuver. They are dangerously close to losing this Rainmaker.
Definitely dangerously close and eventually losing it, and definitely not in the cleanest way that they would have wanted. There are multiple members going down. This is going to result in a retaliation coming out from Twighlight's Cruzada. They are going to be able to dunk that down all the way to that right pedestal there. That is going to end their push very abruptly in their tracks, but that pedestal is a huge barrier in moving the Rainmaker on this map in particular. So I'm sure they're glad to be getting it out of the way kind of early on in the match.
Oh yes, absolutely. And while you typically don't see many teams go for that right route, unless there's like a complete wipeout, just the fact that the Rainmaker was right next to the pedestal was such a huge bonus for Twighlight Cruzada. And now they're going to be moving up that left path, which tends to be the safer one, as it is not right underneath the spawn.
Yes, extending their lead quite a bit here, getting it all the way down to 25 here. We're seeing these specials being popped by EnviZion, and once again, all these members of Twighlight's Cruzada going down. We're just seeing the Sharker coming out from Brand here under there, housing some jumps, but Twice is able to spot that out and is getting these picks, leading in that ultimate wipeout for Twighlight's Cruzada. So this is going to be EnviZion moving once again back up here.
Just the absolute speed that they're able to bring it back and get that checkpoint. Like Twighlight was just coming out of spawn, and yet they already have that knocked out.
Yeah, and I'm actually just realizing this now because I'm looking at the colors a little bit more clear. I do believe we have the colors reversed. EnviZion is going to be that orange team, so they do have that lead of 25 right now.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
I'm glad you caught that. I had not noticed. But yes, we do have orange in the lead with 25, and they are back trying to get some more ground off of it. Looks like Twighlight is going to be backed up in their base with possession of the Rainmaker in EnviZion's grasp right now. They're just going to have to contend with the crab that are getting popped.
Definitely, we're seeing this Rainmaker applying a whole lot of pressure, taking quite some time to go down there. But when you have a lead that's such, it's as good as 25, you kind of just want to, stall for as much of the game as possible. You're not necessarily going in for points unless you find a convenient scenario to do so. So just moving that Rainmaker as far away from their base as possible is going to be what's ultimately going to seal the deal for them in this game, and that's exactly what they're going for here.
Indeed, we do have some even count right now. Like as you said, the Rainmaker's just stuck in that corner of Twilight's base, and they can't really do anything with it until it resets. EnviZion is doing an excellent job of just maintaining paint control and trying to slow down Twighlight Cruzada's pace, trying to keep them from really pushing out. And now we are back to even footing with both teams fully up. And I say that as 2 members of EnviZion go down.
Yes, and this is looking like it's getting a lot of momentum for Twilight's Cruzada here. We're finally seeing them on this pop, but with that being said, 2 members going down, another one going down at the same time as that respawn, and that machine is going to be camped up for EnviZion up on that left block there, and moving up forward to get that clean kill out of the machine on the side of Twilight's Cruzada. Just when it looks like things are turning up for them, EnviZion is able to clean things up in sort of these non-optimal circumstances for them, which is very good for them. 30 seconds left. It looks like they're just trying to hold this Rainmaker here and sort of force Twilight's Cruzada to walk into them. When you're set up this well, you can kind of just take advantage of that and force your opponent to pop specials like we're seeing here now. And now they're not really going to have too much of special advantage trying to move into the base of EnviZion here.
Yeah, the hero play of that last remaining player just completely flipped the script and ate up so much time, and now Twiglight Cruzada is on the back foot. They have the Rainmaker, but it is in overtime, and with all members of EnviZion just chasing them down, they have nowhere left to run, and EnviZion will be taking this first match.
Definitely a very strong game for EnviZion there, holding a lead and just able to keep it without much challenge that entire game. You saw towards the end there, you have to be very careful when picking up that Rainmaker towards overtime. You basically have to play Protect the President, even more dramatically than you would before, because you just know with these aggressive teams like EnviZion that they are going to dive right into them face first.
The amount of just the aggro style, but then the aggro weapons, they're going to be gunning straight for you.
Yep. So game 2, which could, I think could seal the deal for both teams here, depending on how they play this, is going to be Clamblitz on Museum D'Alfonsino. So, the weird thing about this one is just, how hard it is to get into the base of your opponent. So I think it screams numbers when you're able to do that multiple times or sustain it for extended periods and pushes. I think that says a lot about a team and their lasting power and their ability to hold momentum. So I think this map, more than anything, is a test of that.
It is certainly an interesting map. I think, as you were saying, it does come down to a bit of momentum. Like, getting onto the plat is rather difficult, but then there's a lot of avenues where you can really push into the base and just keep them at bay. As long as you have a steady flow of clams coming in, it, as you said, just the amount of staying power is going to just decide the match.
Definitely. It's kind of hard to predict what to expect here until we kind of see it with our own eyes. When you have a team like EnviZion that had been previously retired and is now just coming back to the scene, it's very hard to expect what they're going to be playing here.
Absolutely. I suspect that we'll be seeing at least a couple of the Splash-O-Matic Crab combos, especially for Clamblitz, just the absolute oppression and mobility you can get from that kit. Ooh, we are going to be seeing the Jet Squelcher dualies coming out for the side of Twighlight Cruzada here.
Yeah, you don't see those all too often. I think it's just maybe lacking a kit that that harmonizes with the weapon as much as people would like and what we had seen prior. But you know, I think its time will come eventually in this game when people sort of find that niche, and it's not going to be constantly challenged by a crab tank. And speaking of, Meowie going to be popping that crab tank onto the side of Twilight's Cruzada, maybe in a bit of a hope to keep EnviZion out of their faces, but nevertheless, EnviZion is making their way in regardless. Bran, of course, popping the crab tank of their own in the exact same position we saw Meowie in just moments prior, and just applying all this pressure right under the basket that is going to allow Saf and Unaware to get right into their faces and dunk all these clams that they somehow built up in that aggression.
They certainly did, getting it down to 59, and they were able to take out a couple of members of Twilight Cruzada on the way out. They have some in their possession, and they're choosing not to leave. They're still there. Twilight Cruzada is in a bit of a pickle here. They have some specials, and they're trying to just find some footing to push them out, but it is not looking good for them.
Definitely not, and we're seeing another push sort of revving up here. More members up on the side of EnviZion than there is on Twilight's Cruzada right now, so that is going to put them once again onto that back foot there. We are seeing Bran pop that crab tank again in one of the most aggressive positions I've ever seen anyone pop a crab tank here. They aren't able to keep that basket open for much longer, unfortunately for them, and that Booyah Bomb just going to be perfectly conveniently placed in the perfect spot to clear out the remaining members of EnviZion. But Bran really not giving up here on this right side here, getting in a bit of a fight with one of the other members of Twilight's Cruzada, and definitely is going to be getting called out and finally picked off by Meowie in a trade.
Yeah, up until then, EnviZion had such a steady rhythm going. They had two members just completely set up camp in the spinner area there. We saw Bran on the crab just absolutely raining fire down. And then we had like the bucket and the other one of the other members of EnviZion just collecting clams. They got the power clam in no time flat, and they just kept it pouring in until Twilight Cruzada threw out that buoy bomb to just displace them out of the way. And now it looks like Twilight Cruzada is going to be trying to make something of it.
Yes, Twilight's Cruzada definitely going to be having to pop some specials here to make their way back into mid, which is definitely not what you're going to be wanting to use them for. But when you see the amount of coverage EnviZion has and the amount of aggression, I don't think fights alone is what is going to get you back in here. BB, of course, not backing down whatsoever here, is able to back up very smartly here. But once again, you can just see that control has completely retained for EnviZion here as they continue to get more picks onto this right side. And once again are looking to charge up another push once again. It's just so much is going on for EnviZion here and not really giving Twilight's Cruzada any room to breathe so far.
And we saw the 52 just alone poking at them from that block, trying to keep them off kilter. Did not let them keep or drop their guard. So now they're not letting them get a good position to push up. Like, they have that power clam, but there's still so much orange paint on the ground, like they can't really move up. They do have some nice picks going in. They have some room to maneuver, and they're making their way up, but they just have two members down once again.
Yeah, it has really just been an uphill battle for Twilight's Cruzada to move back in. As you can see here, the map has not really changed, and EnviZion has just been continuously getting these picks and holding on to center, and the pick over the wall onto the other member of Twilight's Cruzada, that is just so difficult to deal with there, and we're seeing it kind of slide over so that even the base of Twilight's Cruzada is looking like it belongs to EnviZion here. So once again, with 45 seconds left, I think they're going to have to play this really carefully. They can't get too desperate here, but they're going to have to definitely keep all their ducks in a row. And as I'm saying this, they do get a full wipe here. If they're able to maintain this, take out Bran, they could make this the winning push of the game.
Getting it down to 68, 62. They need some more clams to really get that lead back. 20 seconds on the clock. They are so close to getting it back. Just a couple more clams needed. 56. 20 seconds remaining. They have two members down, but the Wavebreaker is out. The last one is taken out. A wipeout at 56. And 10 seconds remaining. That is probably going to be end of that right there. They're not going to have enough time to really gather enough clams to get that power clam up and running. Oh,
yes,
and EnviZion.
with that power clam, it is going to seal the deal for them and the set. Moving up EnviZion here, that's really going to end it for you. Just when you think you're going to have a chance at overtime there, that enemy power clam will cut off everything.
I was mega impressed there, even with several members of EnviZion still up. Twilight's Cruzada was still able to break open and find an opening to get that basket, and they were so close to bring that lead back. If they were able to take that match, they could have continued on to Game 3, but just unfortunately, the cleanup by EnviZion and also the counter push right back into the basket just completely stopped the game.
Yeah, that just speaks numbers about how aggressively EnviZion has been playing this so far. I think when you play that coordinated and you're able to hold up momentum for that long, I think that is huge lasting power, which is going to help out EnviZion in this next set, which is going to be finals with Nawal versus Nawal and Ripping versus EnviZion. I'm not sure. Maybe you know what the end ripping means, but I'd love to know.
Maybe it's Nawal and the player Rippings as an addition to their team.
There's a player called Ripping?
I don't know. That is my consideration. Or is another team called Ripping? I'm not quite sure.
I guess we'll find out. We got a roster here. Narrow. Okay, it is someone named Ripping on their roster. I am not familiar with this player, but I'm quite intrigued now because it is now permanently in the Nawal canon, in the Nawal lore. we have Ripping here, and I think it's Robin. Robin, or I can't remember if that's K-O or R-O in Japanese. Shoot. Regardless, I'm assuming it's Robin. Yes.
Once again, we do see the 5 members. If they have Ripping in the name, I'm going to assume that one of the 4 is going to be Ripping. I will be mega disappointed if that is not the case.
You know, maybe they're just there so that they can put the result in the Sendo bio and no one can question it. Well, no one's gonna go and do the homework to question it. You know, just throw that in there. But Nawal, of course, a very consistent team, and a team that's going to be actually, I think, old enough to know about EnviZion. So I think that's one edge that they might have here is that. We do have 2 senior citizen teams in finals, so they're at least going to be familiar with the play style of both teams.
Yes, we have the longtime teams. Nawal, definitely a longtime competitor for the SOS, a regular here on this tournament. It's going to be interesting to see them go up against EnviZion here.
And I mean, this is for all the marbles, right? So we gotta kind of look at this one with a bit of a magnifying glass and consider all the matches that they've taken to get to this point in the tournament. And I feel like Nawal is one of those teams that when they hit their stride, they really, really hit their stride. I think judging by the fact that this is where they are now, speaks numbers to how well they might be doing tonight. So I think we're in for a really good finals set here.
Absolutely. I think it's also to their credit, like being able to play with your team and then also play with a sub and still make it to finals just speaks volumes of the coordination they have and the amount of skill that each of these players are able to bring to the table.
Yeah, I think one thing that is kind of worth pointing out when playing with a sub with these teams that have lasted for so long, depending on the player that they are taking the spot of, it's not always a huge deficit to them as far as coordination goes, especially if it's somebody who's familiar with the team. Because when you get an idea of the role and the tasks, you might say that player normally does, it can be easy for some people who play similarly to sort of fit into that slot and work well with the team. which is why I think a lot of people, when they're subbing for teams, they'll normally sub for the same team. It's just, we're friends, we're used to it, and I'm assuming that's the case happening here. Nawal definitely going into this tournament understanding that they were going to be playing with somebody else, and clearly it has been working out for them very well here. I mean, maybe not as great as it would be to have like their full roster, but not at the fault of ripping themselves. I think it's just, this is what we're used to, and this is what's going to happen.
That is a fair point. Now, looking at this map pool for this final set, we got the double Splatoon 3 new maps coming in. We got Eeltail Alley and the tower control for our first one, but then we have the return of the Splatoon 2, but no Splatoon 1 maps. That doesn't really a factor into it at all, just curious.
I am personally okay with that, and maybe this is a bold opinion, but I really don't think it is. I think the Splatoon 1 maps got very much butchered in this game, so I am totally fine with that. They don't even look like they did in the first game, really. So here we are. Gosh, don't even know what to say about EnviZion's comp here. That is a Splatoon 3 comp, alright, so I guess I can't compare them to what they were like in Splatoon 2.
Wow, wow. This is gonna be fun to watch. Tower control on Eeltail Alley. You're certainly gonna need a lot of firepower, because there's the Avatar the Last Airbender meme. Oh man, that just completely sums up this map right here.
Definitely. We are seeing a lot of back and forth here, just fighting for center. That first checkpoint really doesn't mean anything on Eeltail Alley. That means we had the tower for a whole 3 seconds. It's really not much of a threat. As you can see here, EnviZion finally getting that full wipeout and moving out into the base of Nawal and ripping. And you could see them just drastically rushing to cover as much ground as possible so that they can these specials here. We're seeing that crab tank come out, that booyah bomb, but now tower has been left unattended momentarily just due to that booyah bomb user getting shredded very quickly. A very smart pick for Nawal to get there, as tower has now not become the focus of this game and more so Chomper getting into this little fight on the side there. But overall, this is going to be a retake for EnviZion once again, getting back onto this tower here despite the fact that they're 2 down.
I can't tell you how tempting it is just to pop all 3 crabs at once. I would be scared stiff to be on Nawal and see that pop up. But the patience and the control that EnviZion has right now, spacing out their specials to have the most control for the most amount of time. And we do see Nawal coming back and retaking the tower, taking the lead again. Just EnviZion, they are not done yet. They are quickly gaining back some ground.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out about how they stagger their crab usage on the side of EnviZion, just due to the fact that when you're popping a crab, you kind of always want it to have one constantly out, due to the fact that tower is kind of always going to be a bit of a linear moving thing. It's kind of just moving at the pace of it and staying. How do I say this? You're moving at the pace of the tower, and you're going to try and keep up momentum as you continue to push that tower. So, just popping it all at once would maybe allow Nawal a little bit too much time afterwards to just recover and say, hey, you have no more specials, you have no more crabs, we're just going to run right back at you. But using them consistently so there's always one out, I think is going to be a lot more effective here, as we are seeing Nawal doing a bit of a similar approach here, getting the pick onto Unaware. That is just going to be one member up on either side, and that is going to allow Aizen to continue moving up here while their other members of Nawal jump in, and that booyah bomb is going to be getting popped here, which is going to keep up this momentum towards that tower. And I didn't even realize it till now, but Nawal actually has the lead here. They've been prioritizing objective a lot more than EnviZion has.
Indeed, they already chewed through that second tower and they're on their way to the third. And once again, staggering their specials. We have the crab just completely shutting down that lower plat. While they do respond with the crab themselves, the booyah bomb is going to finish that off. Another triple down, and that is going to be the KO for Nawal.
Yeah, we saw a lot of really dramatic plays that game. Teams going down all four at once, just constantly. Just when it wasn't Nawal, it was EnviZion, and ultimately Nawal was able to keep up that momentum just a little bit better and had a bit more of a stronger focus on holding on to that tower, which sealed the deal for them, I think, there, because like you could see how strong things were looking for EnviZion at the beginning of the game there, but then once the one person who was riding the tower went down, it was just instantly over.
Indeed, and I think I keep pointing out before, just Nawal did a excellent job of prioritizing that the objective. Like even when there was a 1v1 with 3 members of both teams down, Nawal was riding the tower. They were gaining those points while their teammates jump back in and respawn. While EnviZion, they certainly had a lot of good control and a lot of good plays. They weren't spending as much time riding on the tower, and then that just allowed Nawal to get the upper hand.
Yeah, definitely. So we are going to be going into Rainmaker on Undertow Spillaway here, which does make me think a little bit here when we have these sort of aggression to the point of we're almost not looking at objective comps like EnviZion has been doing so far. I think that could be a bit of a deficit for them here. There's a lot of opportunities for Rainmaker to get snuck around on this map. I think so far in this game, this has been that one Rainmaker map that is like super infamous for people just sneaking it and dunking it behind the backs of their opponents more than anything else. I'm sure you've seen that before, either in Ludi or in one of these tournaments. So I think that is something for them to watch out for here.
While it is pretty narrow down the middle, just the routes of the pathing, it is an uphill battle, but if you do manage to get behind enemy lines, it's an uphill battle for them to chase after you.
Yes, definitely. So we are getting into this a little bit more of a regular comp from both sides. We are seeing that Killer Whale coming out from the side of EnviZion on that 52 gal, which I think is going to be very smart for them. Very long, narrow map that is going to allow them to target that Rainmaker from a long distance and sort of figure out where the members of Nawal might be sitting at any given time. Bran going to be popping this crab here very early on while those Ink Strikes come out and kind of challenge him, but that isn't going to stop them at all, as they have been able to pick up that Rainmaker and get these 2 picks onto the side of Nawal. That is a really, really good start of the game for them.
Yes, both of these teams have pretty similar comps with just the one weapon. Now EnviZion is going to be wiped, allowing Nawal to really get some points on the board, just beelining for that left pedestal.
Yes, and actually they have been stopped from getting that checkpoint. I thought they were going to get it for sure. We are seeing this crab getting popped out from Narrow and getting kind of in a kerfuffle there with Bran while they try to pop this Rainmaker and get it out of their faces. But I'm kind of seeing that Rainmaker getting left unattended, which is, I think, going to be a bit of a bad omen for them if they're not careful here. Any member of Nawal could just sneak in here quickly, but it looks like they're actually not doing that, playing this rather honestly, despite the fact that, it kind of got ditched there a bit. But 3 down onto the side of Nawal and Ripping. They are seeing this opportunity here. They are going to try and get that checkpoint. Getting that dunk there, I believe, just before getting picked, which is going to be really good for them. I mean, normally you don't push on this side of the map. I think they just did that to get that checkpoint out of the way so they wouldn't have to do it on the left side, which is very smart. When you're trying to get that speed, you don't want to have to be worrying about that checkpoint.
Yes, when you need that, just a quick checkpoint, not really looking to push it further than that. Either checkpoint will certainly do the job. I think that right one he's even is a little bit closer to mid, so they took advantage of that, getting the little bit of the lead there. And they are still in decent control here. Nawal is trying to push back in, but they have 2 of their members down, and now EnviZion is going to be taking up that left path. And now that they have the checkpoint out of the way, they can just continue on, but they do get stopped by the rogue bomb.
Yes, that rogue bomb is not going to be very helpful for them moving up here. As you can see, just getting stuck in a little bit of a speck of that yellow ink there. And Bran just holding ground all by himself there. It's just going to be that Rainmaker, but thankfully that machine is going to be there to save the day for Nawal and keep them in this and sort of preserve things from going too much worse for them. I think 39 is a decent lead, but it's definitely not one that's going to be game winning here for sure, especially with the way that Nawal has been playing this very defensively. And I see Brand there just sitting in this one little speck, trying to wait for any member of Nawal to sort of pop their head into his range, but you know, getting spotted out here is going to cause quite a bit of chaos on the side there. Now we do see Ripping getting very aggressive into the faces of EnviZion here, has those ink strikes at the ready, but once again Nawal actually doesn't have that first checkpoint. They still, you know, they need to move through that first if they want to get some good progress.
I think chaos is definitely the word to describe it. While the Rainmaker is sitting around in mid, all members of both teams are just kind of 1v1ing all across the map. But now EnviZion is the one left standing, and so they're going to be pushing way back into the base. And with that lead, they don't necessarily need to push it up. They are simply stalling for time. And now they are on that left side, just trying to bait out the specials, keep them from being able to really make too much progress back at them.
Yes, and if I'm EnviZion right now, I'm definitely not going to be trusting that lead of 39. I think you really only just want to sit and protect that if it's the worst case scenario and you don't think you're going to be able to get back into their base. But this is EnviZion we're talking about here. They play extremely aggressively. I don't know if they're going to be settling for a push like 39 here. But with that being said, Nawal coming back with a bit of retaliation themselves. They only have about, I would say, 40 seconds to make this work, and they still, once again, need to get that checkpoint here. So it's more about getting these sort of prolonged moments of pressure rather than these quick wipeouts that we've been seeing for the most part of this game here, and failing to do so is not going to warrant them any results here.
Yeah, it's just kind of been a bit of a back and forth. Both of these teams have been going toe-to-toe and losing members. EnviZion, they are still in the lead. They have the control of the Rainmaker, but we'll have to see if they're able to maintain it. They have quite a bit of pressure up in their Nawal's base, and with 10 seconds remaining, that might be just enough.
Yes, and we do see a Brand running back here towards that Rainmaker, seeing that Nawal has popped it and just waiting for them to grab it so they can end the game right then and there, and that is going to even up the set for EnviZion taking game 2.
Who's going to be tying up here as we go into this third match. That was an excellent comeback by EnviZion. You know, they kind of had as we saw in the first match, Nawal, they were the ones that were able to bring it out to the KO, but EnviZion, they kept the lead that they had in this Rainmaker match, and they were able to hold it, just keeping Nawal off balance and on their toes. And we'll have to see if they're able to keep that up going into Clan Blitz on Makomart.
Yes, and Clan Blitz Makomart is, I think, another one of those maps where if you let your guard down for just a moment, things can flip like a coin. You know, it's very small. You can get to the opponent basket. You see a lot of skirmishing happening right in the center of the map. So there's always some sort of excitement going on, no matter what is going down in the match. There's a lot of fights for control over advantageous points on the map. Obviously, I think the, you know, left and right sort of crates, stacks. I'm not sure what the new hip way of calling them is, but I think everyone kind of knows what I'm talking about here. When you're kind of fighting for those here, that's a huge point of contention. A lot of different factors play into how this particular map mode goes. So I'm curious to see how things will end up, but I want to know if you have anything, or, well, we're getting into, I talk so much.
No worries, it is quite insightful, and honestly, I would have to agree, there's going to be quite a bit of just skirmishing and fights breaking out because of how close quarters it is, and there is just quite a few avenues to take. They have to be watching for that flank, because the basket, you leave it unattended, you might have a rogue splash up in your base.
Definitely. I don't know if you caught wind of Unaware's kit, the machine on the side of not Starburst, what am I saying? I saw SB Brand, I was like, yeah, Starburst. EnviZion. But it is literally 3 mains of quick respawn. So they are going into this not necessarily expecting to get these picks. but they just basically want to cause chaos. That is the thing that I get from seeing a kit like that. And we do see BB here running up, just again applying this pressure. Once EnviZion has been getting these fight wins, you just see them panicking to get all the coverage on the map, and it's been working out for them in the long term, I find.
Yeah, EnviZion, they'll have a solid first push as a team. They'll have the nice wipeout and the early lead, and then it just, as the match goes on, it slowly devolves into, I think as you mentioned before, just absolute chaos. And I think with the quick respawn, it's going to be an extra measure of chaos in this match.
Yes, for sure. We are seeing Unaware here still sitting on the side of Nawal. They haven't been quite able to dislodge him just yet, but finally getting the pick onto him. But at what cost? I mean, EnviZion still has all this coverage here. They have clamp control. Well, they did until Brand just passed. It's just now. So this could be the start of things for Nawal here if they're able to clean things up just a little bit more. They don't seem to have a power clam at the ready, not maybe anticipating that they were going to get so many people down on the side of EnviZion here. But starting off their push very strong here. It is just going to be that Splash-O-Matic left, but they have been very smart to back up here, understanding that this map goes back and forth so dramatically.
EnviZion is already cleaning up. We see so much of the purple link out there. They have a few clams in possession, but with 3 of their members down, they're now the ones have to back up here, but they are not quite fast enough to escape, dropping their clams right at the foot of the basket. Nawal is setting up for another push, and they are very close to that power clam.
Yes, Chomper here sitting at the bottom of the basket there, just waiting to get a toss from one of their teammates so they can continue dunking points to extend their lead a little bit more here. As you can see, the Splash-O-Matic not dropping down or backing out of this whatsoever, just finding clams where they can, extending this and not really letting EnviZion leave their base unattended, because that basket is still continuing to stay open. These clams are still spawning in here, and the Splash-O-Matic's just been buying them so much time under this basket. It's been working out for them so well, despite the fact that they're 2 down here. This 52 gal is going to continue to move up, and just what
Just completely ignoring EnviZion and saying, nah bro, I'm going for that basket, and gets a couple more clams and bringing it down to 8 in this last 2 minutes. They kept that going for so long, and they were finally wiped out. EnviZion taking control once again, but that is going to be a hefty lead to come back from.
Yeah, and when you're not really that prepared, just now getting control of the map once again, it can be really difficult to sort of balance that objective play with the aggression, which of course I think you know which way EnviZion tends to lean so far. And getting it down to 44 is going to work out for them really well, but I think they're going to have to go for a second push overall in order to compete with a score like 8 on Mako Mart. But they really do need to clear out Bran, who has just been running around with nothing holding him down, basically.
That is going to be the end of that push right there. The basket is closed, but they managed to take down 2. Well, they take down 2 members of Nawal, but lose 2 in return, so it is pretty even as Nawal begins to clean up and get some map control back. As we saw in a previous match, EnviZion was the one that had such solid control on the Clan Blitz, just maintaining such a dominant push and lead for most of the match, but now the tables are not turning in their favor as Nawal comes back and do it against them.
Yes, Nawal, of course, moving up here, getting these picks in these last 30 seconds is going to really seal the deal for them. I don't even know if they're going to bother with making another power clam and dunking it, but they do opt into doing it. Probably not going to be able to get the knockout here if I was guessing, but they've actually just burned through that pity within seconds. Didn't see that coming whatsoever. Narrow, of course, staying up there. 3 clams is going to seal the deal for them, of course, getting that knockout in those last few seconds with that basket open. I assume just the aggressive plays from Nawal buying them enough time to sort of run in and get that knockout when they still had the opportunity to do so. And overtime is so nerve-wracking in Clan Blitz. I totally understand the want to get it done right then and there.
It certainly brings it to a whole nother level of anxiety once that overtime kicks in. But we did see Nawal, they had no regard for their own safety when it came to putting the clans, and they put the objective first, and that just led to their victory in the end.
Yes. So now I'm wondering if EnviZion is going to be trying to seal, even up the set here. Of course, I mean, why wouldn't they? In splat zones on Hagglefish. It's really hard to say like how the tides will turn here. I think overall Nawal has had very strong objective-based plays, but I think EnviZion has done it better in these short bursts. So if I were to look at this, from a distance, I would say, okay, Nawal has been doing better in the modes where you need to sort of sustain pressure more than do something quick. So I think Splat Zones on Hagglefish could be the game for them to seal out the tournament, but it's very hard to say. Just you never know what EnviZion's going to pull out of their pocket.
I have to say that EnviZion, like to your point, like Nawal definitely has had the advantage as far as the mode goes, as far as the objective goes, but they have also done pretty well with the more active objective. But EnviZion, they may find the advantage here because they can, if once they can control the zone, then they don't really have to babysit it quite as much as some of the other modes. They are free to get out, paint, and get some splats, and so we'll have to see if that leads to their advantage here as we see the triple splash making a return.
Yes, that's triple splash, of course, going to be very helpful with them painting, and that Booyah Bomb from the sloshing machine and those fizzies are just going to be absolutely lethal and great for this coverage. But Nawal popping that crab, and I swear probably like record time or something, getting onto that zone there and getting these 2 picks onto the members of EnviZion. We do see Nero running a little bit far ahead just to try and take care of that crab tank from Brand and not really let it last too long, but that is just going to leave and remaining onto the zone, forced to pop that Booyah Bomb just to keep them in this and hold up that pressure and not really give it up to EnviZion completely there, which is really smart. But it's really hard just to get that lasting power on a Hagglefish. Once you get into that position, I think you're great, but so far neither team has really accomplished this so far.
Well, Nawal, even with 3 members down, was still able to keep some semblance of control and keep the zone flipping back in their favor. With a nice pick with that Fizzy Bomb back there by Azen, they are surely putting up a fight as 3 members of EnviZion go down. The last one is going to have to... Well, no, they're not off in the backup. They are in the thick of it, facing the full team of Nawal before they're able to take him down. But that zone is still ticking away, and EnviZion is still pretty deep in their base right now.
Yes, EnviZion has really gotten to this great aggressive position. Actually, Nawal has been the one moving up here. So we're seeing Nero get all the way up into their faces, really just trying to extend this lead as much as possible. And I think we're going to see some sort of backup members of Nawal sitting by this zone here. We see that Crab Tank and that Booyah Bomb. This should be a cap back into the favor of Nawal, despite the fact that EnviZion has sort of burned through the that first layer of defense coming out from Nawal here. But 2 players against a Crab Tank, that is going to result in a trade. But that zone is still being capped for Nawal. There are points actively being ticked down from that penalty as we speak.
They flipped it just enough to put a bit of a penalty for EnviZion, but EnviZion were able to stay alive longer, and now they are through that penalty, getting through them points, and the crabs are out, but they don't see Nero coming on that right side, just trying to find an opening and not quite able to.
Yes, getting that trade there is going to help them a little bit here, but with just the sloshing machine left, they kind of have to be popping that Booyah Bomb just to stay alive a little bit longer, which is not going to accomplish that even. So making it a little bit harder for Nawal to get back in here. That Crab Tank is going to get popped by EnviZion, I'm sure, just to try and get as close to that lead swap as soon as possible. Points are ticking down. There's 2 members down on the side of Nawal. That is going to be a lead swap for EnviZion here for sure. They're going to be going for the knockout at this point in time. Brand is going to be moving up, getting picked off. They need to neutralize the zone now in order to save the set.
They're going in, they get a couple of picks, but with only 1 member of Nawal down or remaining, just not enough time for them to get the flip back. EnviZion taking game 4 to tie up the set.
It is all going to come down to Game 5 here. EnviZion proving that they can hold up momentum for long enough periods of time to take a mode like Zones against a dignified team like Nawal. So it's all going to come down to tower control on Inkblot Art Academy. Now, we did see tower control at the very beginning of the set. Of course, it goes to Nawal and a very clean knockout for them. But I think there's a bit more of a different nuance to Inkblot and the way that the tower path is sort of laid out here. It's a lot less of a straight line. You're going to be dealing with a lot of these advantageous defense positions, like on bats, and it's really hard to say how things are going to go here, just due to the fact that things are structured so differently. I think there are specials that come into play here that you don't necessarily see on Eeltail Alley as much. It's maybe less of a range reliant map than Eeltail because it's a lot smaller, I would say. Mm-hmm. So it's really up in the air.
I think on top of that, like you said, because Eeltail is such a straight way for the tower, you really have to utilize the full incremental strategies of tower control. Like, you have to take it one checkpoint at a time versus Inkblot Art Academy, because it kind of squiggles away in a loop. You really just kind of push forward and let the tower rider do its thing. And as long as you're watching for that flank on the right, you really don't have to babysit the tower quite as much as you do on Eeltail. Eeltail, you just gotta, you gotta take it one step at a time. But Inkblot is just, it spins out of control a lot more quickly.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more there. It's very difficult, I think, for any team to sort of maintain control. I'm now just sort of in the point where I'm like, okay, well, what are we going to see out of these comps?
How many splashes are they going to be bringing out is the question.
Just 2 this time, not 3, but we have an even amount on both sides, and these are actually completely mirrored comps. I'm sure this wasn't coordinated, but it just happens to be what both teams think is good here. So it's gonna come down completely just to skill and coordination. It's got nothing to do with the comp. We are looking at the exact same thing on both sides.
This is the final match of the final round of Great White. This is the topmost teams of SOS right here. Like, you gotta go with what works the best, and apparently this is what works the best for tower control Inkblot.
For them, at least. For
them,
but,
exactly.
It's kind of hard to argue with the crab being good, and Bran, of course, moving up into the base, getting picked off by Nero, who is playing the exact same weapon. I just can't wait to see these reflective comps happening and interacting here. Chomper finally getting that great pick to clean up things and sort of get the ball rolling for Nawal in this game so far. EnviZion has played this extremely strong so far, and just all the way up to that second checkpoint can be really concerning this early on in the game.
Yeah, just the speed that EnviZion was able to take control and push it up that far is pretty impressive. And Nawal still hasn't really been able to recover fully from that. Like, they're still, the majority of their members, in their own plat. Like, we do see the one be able to break out and get the trade, but for the most part, there's still a lot of blue on that map.
A lot of blue there is, and they are trying to progress that, so that blue is not just in the middle of the map. That will be moving up into the base of Nawal. But that crab has something to say about it. Crabs are being popped everywhere. It is like a seafood platter on Inkblot Art Academy. They are moving up here to this first checkpoint. They are going to try and clear that as much as possible. I do know that Bran is sitting here in a little corner getting picked off by Eisen finally, and that should clean things up just enough for them to clear that first checkpoint here, which is a great start for them. That Booyah Bomb is going to be coming out, forcing BB back into the bats here, and they are just holding it over their heads going, hey, oh, who knows where I'm going to throw that thing. Finally, they have been able to progress up to that checkpoint, and they have gotten that lead, albeit a very small one.
That second checkpoint tends to be like the gauntlet for this map. Like, it is going to be the most difficult to get through, and we saw that they activated almost all those specials at once just to be able to push up to it. And they were able to take the lead by a point, but it is going to take quite a lot more to push past it. 2 minutes are still remaining, and the teams are just pretty evened out right now.
Yes, we have a 1-point lead margin at this point in time. And like I said before, this is just going to come down to the raw skill of the players when you're dealing with something like that. There are no other factors going into this. We do see EnviZion getting back onto this tower here, trying to reclaim that lead for themselves. But I think when you're dealing with these small margins, they're going to have to make something very impactful in order for it to matter in the long run. So they're going to have to probably clear that checkpoint or at least get through most of it. But getting completely challenged by the other members of Nawal, who are not really letting them get anywhere near their plat, clearing them out and sort of punishing them for even thinking about doing it.
It's still nice to see that the Booyah Bomb will outshine the crab when it's placed directly on top of it. But we see Nawal on the back, coming back, trying to extend their lead, and they are on that checkpoint. But they're going to have to watch out for the flank coming in from EnviZion, and remaining only 1 member of Nawal left.
1 remaining left, but Chomper is not going to go down without a fight. Finally getting picked off by BB once again as they pop this killer whale, moving up onto the side of Nawal. They know they're not going to have a lot of opportunities like this to get back in, but all the other members of Nawal have already respawned back in. They are ready to defend this tower with their lives. They do have that crab sitting at the ready there, but they're going to have to clear off their bats, and BB gets that pick. That is so important. They're going to make their way to that checkpoint. This could be the lead for EnviZion.
They're going to be taking this lead and the checkpoint on top of it in the last 30 seconds. That is such a huge move for EnviZion, because that is going to allow them to really hold control of this lead here. And they are still on that tower, pushing it even further. As time ticks away, Nawal's chance of victory is slowly slipping away as well. They are able to get 3 members of EnviZion down, but with 15 seconds remaining and such a huge lead to come back from, it's going to be quite challenging.
Yes, challenging it will be. Only 7 seconds left. They are going to have to rely on overtime and basically protect whoever is riding that tower here. They can't really get spotted out by any sort of Booyah Bomb. That is going to allow the members of EnviZion to cheese it. Oh, but with that trade happening, that is going to ultimately favor EnviZion here. They know that they've won. They can just sit back and do nothing. That is going to be the tournament for EnviZion, cleaning up this set that really was not going well for them at the beginning.
Not at all. It looked like it was going to be going in Nawal's favor, but something flipped for EnviZion. They were able to find the opening that they needed and completely push through the door, say, hey, we're here, we are going to be taking this victory. We will see you all later.
Thank you so much, guys, and congratulations to EnviZion coming back to Splatoon 3 and, taking these wins, showing that they
they're
still got
a
it.
Dominant force.
Yes. And we actually, just before we do go, I know I'm going against what you said there, IMAD. We do have a couple more ads just to remind you guys about the cool things going on in our community, and just love to give them a shout out. So first off, Squids on Ice is a Northeast Florida / South Georgia local happening on February the 18th. That is coming up in just 3 days, guys, this weekend in Jacksonville, Florida. It is a single day event. Doors open at 6 p.m. for socializing, and the Splatoon event starts at 7 o'clock. Tickets are now on sale. Pizza, drinks, and other food will be provided. Come support your local Splatoon community and meet some gamers. For more details or questions, join the Squids on Ice Discord server. Tickets are on sale now. So we do have a little QR code up on screen. So if you wanna go and head over to this event, definitely scan that now to get some more details.
Indeed, definitely look forward to that. I believe we have one other one coming up. Yes, we have the let me see. The Tripnacity, a 3v3 tournament coming up this Friday. It's going to be February 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, it is a 3v3 tournament, and it's going to be its 4th time running now. A new format and counter picks involved. Definitely going to be looking forward to that.
Yeah, I definitely, I'll be looking into that tournament myself. That looks like a fun format, especially when you don't have a full roster on your team. Hey, I can't play tonight. No problem. Free tournament. So congrats once again to EnviZion. We are going to be raiding Rafa, so make sure you show him some love when you show up. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for us tonight. Where can they find you, iMad?
Well, you can find me on all the usual places, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at AdMateGamerII. I do definitely do all the Splatoon content plus a little bit extra. Now, where can the good people find you?
Wherever I want to be found, I will just be at Siren Banshee. You can find me probably at Proving Grounds next time that happens as well. So both of our tags are going to be on screen there. And that will be it for us tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in.